want you.
Hey, we are back. We're here. You know what we're back for. You know what we're back for. Another logical analysis. So, I just have one question to ask. Are you ready? Working on a soundboard here. Let me know if that was too loud. We're getting better here. We're getting better. Trying to knock this one out. We got Patrick Bet David, a capitalist, some would say, versus what some would say are anti-capitalist. Jubilee, once again, putting out content that we can grift on. We thank you for this grift we are about to receive. All right. So, so far, this one actually hasn't been as bad as I thought it was gonna be. At least not on PBD's part. There's a lot of people in this that are I don't know, to be honest, they're just kind of stupid. So he doesn't really have a lot of work to do, you know what I mean? Like, so, and to be honest also, it's the claims he's making. Like what was it? Incentive is the engine of capitalism, take it out and it won't run, yada yada blah blah, something like that, right? That's a pretty good analogy. I mean, speaking as how incentive is just like, you know, like that's just something that everybody's gonna need. Like pretty much every system is gonna need to some degree. It's gotta incentive is gonna be like a huge motivation, whatever that incentive is. So a lot of people are like, you know, arguing past the point. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they don't think they were doing that. Okay, that works. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if they realize that they're doing it. I think for the most part they probably do. Uh, it's kind of hard to tell though. Like I usually try not to assume. I try to be as quote unquote good faith as possible. But sometimes you're just um so let's see here. Now, the last claim he was making is if all the money in the world were divided equally. I'm pretty sure he's referring to like, you know, communism or socialism or something, right? Like redistribution of wealth equally. He's saying it will return to the same pockets in 5 years. Now, out of all of the claims he's made, this one is actually probably something that would be easier for them to argue against. But again, like we seem to have this issue of people being on topic. But yeah, I mean, now obviously it's an absolute claim, right? Saying like all the money will return to the same pockets in 5 years is like, we get it, it's a bit hyperbolic. If we're gonna be good faith, he doesn't mean like all of the money, but the majority of the money probably will just end up in the hands of the same companies or whatever. It's gonna probably happen. Like, it is what it is. But he's essentially right. Even if like, but if we're talking about capitalism here, then sure, like, you know, the companies and whatever, but like, I mean, if we're talking like, if we just think about it like politically speaking, I mean, like, yeah, we know, yeah, the money's probably gonna end up in the same hands in 5 years. It's probably less than 5 years, but I guess that's beside the point.
I don't like that word can't because you're saying I can't whenever I can.
So like, I kind of want to do this entire exchange he did with this guy again. I need to remember what they were talking about. Like, this guy was really like hippy dippy on the topic. I think he talked for a while too. Like, yeah, he's the only guy he's talked to so far on this topic. So let's rewind a bit.
Divided by 8 billion people.
Okay.
I don't normally do this.
$2,500 each. My next claim is if all the money in the world were divided equally, it would return to the same pockets within 5 years. What's your name?
Caleb.
Caleb?
Yeah, so you just said that you were proposing if we divided all the wealth equally in like
Fucking
5 years.
Caleb.
How would you propose we divide the wealth in that way? In this thought experiment, again, if we're going to give it a serious look, I want to understand, how would you propose that happen?
I hope you realize this is just a question we're asking everybody, right? But if you take all the wealth, which is around $500 trillion, okay, give or take, you divide it by 8 billion people, it would be around $62,500 each. Within 5 years, the people that don't
So did he actually do the math on this himself, or did he look this up somewhere?
know how to handle money themselves, they would lose it all. And within 5 years, the same wealthy would get the same amount of money.
As someone who certainly doesn't make that much money,
I'm just gonna assume those numbers are right.
I'm willing to take that as a gamble just for fun,
Right,
I'll
sure.
be honest, but at the same time, like, okay, so you're just now claiming that people who don't have wealth don't know how to manage it. And that's fair because a lot of them have never had it before. So what do we do?
Oh, yeah, I think we went over this too, like what wealth management is, and like, yeah, I mean, most people don't.
do to basically ensure that people like myself who are currently, thank you to the United States, thank you to the state of California for giving me medical insurance to get blood work, for giving me food stamps so I can have food. I've applied to, I don't know how many hundreds of jobs. I can show you the receipts. I can show you the email confirmations. Like, I am trying my best to use my values with the freedom that we have.
So if I give you a job, you would work 40 hours a week?
If the job is in alignment with something that's noble and good, I think I could. The issue is, and again, you may say that this
Yes, hippy dippy. I don't disagree with him though. Like, I mean, like, yeah, we'd all like to be doing something noble and good, but it's like, bro, if you got to pay the bills, I mean, do what you got to do.
is a personal weakness, but like right now, substitute teaching, tutoring, trying to help in that way is making it so that I'm able to scratch by.
Yeah.
But without the supplemental income and the help from the society of people who make more money, I'm going to not have enough food.
I want to address something which you made a point that I agree with on why don't some people create wealth. In my family, when I was growing up, and I was telling this young lady over here, when my dad was a cashier at a 99-cent store.
Yeah, you got to create wealth to manage it. Again, like, wealth management is not money management. Two different things.
We've never owned an insurance policy before. My parents, we've never owned a house before. I've never lived in an apartment with a swimming pool before. We've never had a 401k, stock mutual fund, none of that stuff. I had no clue how money worked. So for me, when I got out of the Army with a 1.8 GPA, out of high school, I went straight to the Army because I didn't know how money works. If you look at our system today, in high school, we learn about a lot.
Wait, wait. Is he saying that's what you should do? Or is that just, he's saying that's what he did because there are probably other reasons, but he just kind of just made it seem like he went to the military because he was like, oh, I don't know shit about money. Let me go to the military. Like, I mean, okay. I decided to try to learn, experience, fail, upward. You know what I mean?
A lot of different things. They don't teach us about taxes, finances, mutual funds, stocks, bonds. Colleges don't even teach a lot of that right now. So
you work
come
in
out.
high school?
Did I work in high school?
Have you have experience like me, someone who's essentially on those front lines working in?
I've worked with many high school teachers and the directors of psychology to talk to the youth. Yes,
so
I have.
Right now, I'm in a position where
Yeah. I mean, he's worked with high schoolers, sure.
have options, like you said. I do have some options, but they seem to be somewhat destructive and exploitative of me, of my peers. So I'm trying to
I think you're too selective for jobs right now. You don't have the ability to be selective.
Yeah, this was funny as fuck last time. I remember this. Like,
at this stage.
Well, but the thing is, I do because I'm instilled with a freedom that is maybe God universe given, and I don't actually have to because of the system. Like you said, I don't have to play along with some corrupt game. So I gave up
I think California is perfect for someone like you.
Well, thankfully, California agrees. But you mentioned earlier in a previous discussion that we have free speech, we can say what we want.
Right.
But
look, man, you can't be picky about jobs. If you got to work at the corner store for a little bit, you got to work at the corner store for a little bit.
Thing is, have you been punched on the train for how you look and how you share your ideas?
Do I look like an American too? Do you see this nose?
No, I'm just asking.
I'm Middle Eastern. You know what's happened to this guy?
He said, "Do you see this nose? This is crazy."
You know what's happened to me when I was discriminated?
Shut it down.
Do you really feel like that's free speech if you're being
I don't mind it. I don't mind it because I understand there is a risk that you may be disrespected. Like here, I've been disrespected here many times. I've been offended here many times. A lot of you are coming here finding a way to attack me, tell different stories. I'm okay with that.
I don't want to attack you.
You're being very respectful. I'm not talking about you. But what I'm saying to you is, when you say, "Have you ever been punched in the face on a bus?" You don't want to hear about what things has happened to me because of the way I look.
Because I feel like
nigga, you don't want to hear my stories. He said, I'm certified in these streets, nigga.
Don't want to use
You've been through a lot of trauma in your life, and now you're kind of clinging to things.
I'm not. What I don't want to do that. I have my son is sitting right here, my 13-year-old son, I have 4 kids. I bring them everywhere. I want them to see that it's okay. People are going to disagree with you. You have to be comfortable with this.
All the time.
You are with 13-year-olds all the time?
Because of my job, because I'm a substitute teacher and a tutor. The thing is, you can imply many different things, and that is your right. But what I'm saying is, right now, I care deeply about having a good experience. The incentive that I feel is for peace and prosperity.
I respect it.
And again, I'm using my freedom now, but the issue is you're saying we have all these options, but whenever I tour the globe, I see franchises that have monopolized pretty much everywhere. So when you talk about options, it's really, there's these select few people who have this infrastructure that's really benefiting them more than others, and without some sort of conscious, spiritual, moral awakening, what can we do except for beg and appeal and amass?
Well, no, you can't be too selective.
Bro, he's just all up in his feelings.
At the beginning, when I worked at Haagen-Dazs, I couldn't be too selective for a job.
I can't whenever I can.
It's a choice.
Yeah, he's not like, he wasn't really making any arguments.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate you for being respectful.
Like, he was saying a bunch of stuff that I guess like sounded nice, but he didn't really like put together a like coherent argument. Was that nigga wearing what just like move past that? Because I'm just confused. Like, was that like a tunic? It was like, it looked kind of like a dress for a second. I was like, what the fuck?
I'm glad y'all tripped over each other because I did too. How's it going? James.
What's your name? James.
So one of the things that you have stated is that we have options. Okay.
Yes.
So just to give you a little bit of my background, I come from a divorced family, and we lived below the poverty level from the time that I was born until now, frankly. So I'm one.
So you were in poverty and you're still in poverty? Why didn't you just say I've been poor my whole life or in poverty my whole life? Like
one of those people that you're talking about that isn't.
Or does he mean like it's stopped now until now? Like, is he making bread now?
Pulling themselves up by their bootstraps enough. Which, like, I didn't have boots to begin with, and like, I don't know if you've ever had boots, but like.
All right, bro. Like, come on now. Let's not do this.
Legs are load-bearing structures.
I relate.
And like, you can't really pull up a boot when you're wearing it, you know? So where exactly am I failing? When I am working 80 hours a week, I am taking the only jobs that will hire me. I have put in 477 applications over the last 2.5 years. Not even got a call back once.
Why do you think?
You tell me. You're a job creator.
But I don't know your resume. You know your life better than I do. Why do you think?
Yeah, like, is that supposed to be his fault? I'm so confused.
You have not gotten a call back on 477.
Because
What happened here? Hold on. Is it just on my end?
I do not have a degree.
Okay.
Because I do not have a degree because I could not afford one.
Okay.
I live in an area where the physical job market is very limiting.
Where do you live?
I live in rural Texas.
You said the physical job market is very limiting. So there's not a lot of jobs he can like easily commute to. Like,
Texas.
Okay.
So in that, like in the town that I grew up in, for instance, there are 8 jobs. Period.
Does your family live?
oh, there's literally it's like 8 jobs. That's interesting.
Their mom, dad, everybody's in that same city?
Everybody was at one point.
Okay.
Most of them are dead now.
Okay, sorry to hear.
It is what it is. It's poverty. You know, we're kind of used to that on this side.
Why do you feel like you're a victim? Why do you feel like you're a victim? Why do you feel like
He said, why do you feel like you're a victim?
You know, you're the victim where all this happened to you?
Because I exist and things happen to
Why do
you,
you see
and
yourself
as
as a
such,
victim?
things happen, and that's why I say that they happen
You're
to
a
me.
good-looking guy. Why do you think you're a victim? Why do you think you're somebody that's got into a situation because it's not fair what happened to me? Let me give you a couple options.
Sure.
Are you open to leaving the city you're in?
I've already left it.
So what city?
I've left multiple.
And yeah, doesn't just because you can't like easily find things doesn't mean that you don't have options. Like
cities.
So if somebody else gave you a job in a
because again, like they're not actually arguing about the claim he made, right? About like money and distribution. He's arguing about like whether or not they have options. If I'm from what I'm remembering, that's what he asked him about when he sat down.
in a different place, you'd be willing to move there.
100%.
Okay, on your resume.
It says that.
What do you have on your resume? Skill set. What do you offer?
Transportation expertise, logistics expertise.
You consider
Is this nigga giving a consultation right now?
yourself a hard worker.
I mean, I feel like
You said
80 hours a week.
That's a
something
hard
like that.
worker.
Sure.
How about we do this? How about I interview you and I give you a job? Would you move to Fort Lauderdale?
I mean, he's low key interviewing this nigga, right? That's why I'm like, what is going on?
Ooh, that's Florida. Sure, why not?
Would you move to Fort Lauderdale?
Sure, why not?
How about you and I document this? After this, you come, I do an interview with you, and I give you a job. And let's see what you do 90 days later.
Okay, I'll look up your company and all that kind of stuff, and I'll see it.
But
But
you
like,
see what just happened right there?
regardless,
So
Mike.
watch what you just did.
Sure.
You just said you applied to 477 companies who's not gotten back to you.
Yeah.
A business owner who's hiring aggressively just made an offer to you. You said you're willing to move.
He might be on to something here.
Then you said, I'll look at it. You became selective.
I didn't say I looked at it if you'd let me finish my
Go
sentence.
ahead. I want to hear it.
I would like to look into your company to see exactly what you guys do.
You would like to.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I got from it too. I didn't necessarily think he meant like, you know, I did consider the fact that he meant like, because there are some companies you don't want to work for, right? Like you just don't agree with what they do. You're not a big fan of it. Like you don't want to be involved in it. You don't want to be contributing to something that you think is a horrible thing. So I could see where you can, like, there might be a job available, but it's like, you know, morally you don't want to take the job. It's like, you might have to settle for that. Because again, like he's kind of right. Like if that is what you're doing, you're being a little too picky. Because if you feel like you don't have options and you have an option and you're quite literally choosing not to do it because of some kind of like moral reason or something that's not like actually practical, I mean, it just means you're not willing to really sacrifice. It doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have options.
Because I don't know what you guys do.
Okay.
So as far as I'm concerned, I may be wasting my time going. If you guys are a finance company, if you guys are a bank.
But see, like, and that's the other thing, right? Like saying like I might be wasting my time. It's like, but you haven't. If he said he'll give you a job, it's like, okay, he could be bullshitting you. He could just be like, oh, just have you like sweeping the fucking floor or some shit. And it's like, okay, I want to do something that's actually going to challenge me, that I can actually learn something doing, and make some decent money doing, like, right. So, but I'm assuming, right, if I'm trying to be good faith, right, he's going to offer you a decent job, and you probably shouldn't be thinking out the gate reasons why you wouldn't take it. But again, like I don't think it's inherently bad or necessarily even fair to assume that he's just like, oh, well, I'll check it out and maybe like, no, he's probably just like, oh, we'll see like what job I'd be looking to get if I were to actually interview with you, like, right? Like, what would I prefer? Like, you know, look into like what I could offer your company and what your company offers to people. So, yeah, that's not necessarily a fair assumption from PBD to be honest.
Bank or something like that. I don't have the certifications. I don't have the degrees. So even interviewing me would be a moot
If I
point.
gave you a job, period, to work 80 hours a week, would you take it? And I paid you a reasonable wage.
Are we talking a livable wage or a reasonable wage?
What do
And
you
who,
make?
Yeah, like if we're just assuming, like I think PBD's just assuming, like, you know, just assume he's coming in good faith. He's gonna offer you a good job with a good salary, with something that you'd actually, you know, either be able to do or learn how to do pretty easily, and even like, you know, carry into another job if you were to get another one.
whose
right
version
now?
of reasonable are we
What do
talking
you make
about?
right
Your
now?
version of reasonable or my version of
But you see,
reasonable?
so now for me, what I'm noticing from you is
I need specifics?
no, not necessarily. No, most of the people I hire need specifics.
Like, I mean, yeah, you're gonna need specifics. I don't think that he is thinking that you don't need specifics. I think he's kind of correct in kind of pointing out that you guys are a little too picky for people who can't seem to find jobs.
The difference is I'm trying to hire them. In this instance, you're trying to get a job and you're being selective. It's going to work against
I'm
you.
not trying to get a job. Originally, I was
My
trying to
offer's
ask you
off
where
the
the
table.
moral fell.
My
where the
offer's
moral-
off the table
okay, that's
because
fine.
you're going to be difficult to work with.
Okay, sure.
Oh, like it. I mean, like he's probably not trying to get a job from him, but the way he was talking, he sounded like he needed a job, or at least that there was some point where he was unemployed and was looking for a job and was having a very hard time finding one.
But my question was, where is my moral failing? Like, where is it that you are saying that I am not working hard enough and I am not doing?
I don't think, did he ever say that? This is what I'm saying. Like, they're not arguing against the prompt, but then like, what are you even arguing against? They'll take like some particular statement he said against some other person up there, and then they'll try to make the entire like debate or conversation about that. Like, they try to piggyback off of what each other are talking about, but they can't even do it properly. And then it often is completely off topic, has nothing to do with the actual claim that he made. And I'm honestly, I'm always surprised that the people up here even entertain them the amount that they do. Like, I would love to see somebody come up here and like just force these assholes to stay on topic. I could see somebody like Andrew Wilson doing that if he were to get up here. He might be a little more good faith and like, you know, actually engage with some of their arguments. But if it's not about the claim, I'm not gonna lie. If I were to ever go on this show, I would be forcing people to stay on topic. I'm like, that has nothing to do with what the fucking topic is. Like,
I just experienced it right now because the way you just handled the situation.
Got it. So
here
I should
was-
accept anything
No,
that somebody
it's not-
gives me
not
at
at
first
all.
blush
No.
if it is a guaranteed
No,
thing.
not necessarily,
I agreed to do your interview.
I mean, what PBD is showing here isn't necessarily a moral failing, but to be fair, like I don't think he ever even said anything about there being like some kind of moral failing. It's just the fact that you are being a little too picky. It's like beggars can't be choosers. I mean, like we've all heard this phrase before, right?
Interview. I agreed to be interviewed by you, and you agreed to consider me for hiring.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm taking that opportunity. I've chosen to. But because I'm asking you for specifics, your immediate reaction is that, oh, well, you're trying to be picky. I'm not. I'm asking.
specifics. You could have
I said I need to look up your company. That's all I
you could have
said.
said is I'm willing to have the interview.
And I
Right,
did.
You would have the interview.
And I did.
No, you said it depends.
I said,
don't
yeah,
know,
sure.
Let me look.
Yeah,
let me
sure.
do all
I would
this
look
other
into
stuff.
your company. That's all I
I
said.
appreciate.
He didn't necessarily say it depends. But I guess if I'm gonna be a little bit, you know, fair to PBD, it did kind of seem like he was alluding to that, like he was like, yeah, you know, if I like your company, like
Appreciate you. Thank you, James.
it's like you're being picky. Maybe it's not the market, maybe it's you.
Hi,
What's your
I'm
name?
Faye.
Faye?
Yeah,
Good to
nice
meet
to meet you. So how would you define socialism? Because
Faye.
I think you're kind of misunderstanding.
Isabella.
Hi,
What's your
I'm
name?
Faye.
Faye?
Yeah,
Good to
nice
meet
to meet you. So how would
Faye. It's like, why did they fucking put her name as Isabella then? I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, did she not just say Faye?
you define socialism? Because I think you're kind of misunderstanding what anti-capitalist
She make up that name for herself.
ideals look like. I think we
Misunderstanding what anti-capitalist ideals look like. Okay. As far as this claim, I mean, that's a fair take.
We are just trying to advocate for basic rights for our people in this country and across the world, of course. But I don't think it's necessarily about equal wealth disparity around the world. For most people that are anti-capitalist, I think it's more about just standard rights that are provided by the government.
Standard rights that are provided by the government?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so...
Go a little bit deeper. So for you, when the claim here is, if the money in the world were divided equally,
so
it would
I
return
think
to the same pockets within 5 years. Do you disagree?
Yes.
Tell me why you disagree.
Yeah, so I disagree because I don't even think people
Standard rights that are provided by the government?
are trying to argue for that.
People are not trying
So
to
like,
argue
who
for
are you
that?
arguing in this
Yeah,
debate?
what I'm trying to say...
I don't want my rights provided by the government.
A very select amount of people that are trying to argue for equal wealth disparity.
Yeah.
Most people are at least trying to advocate for wealth and at all for people that don't have access to healthcare right now, that don't have access to a good education right now, that don't have access to their basic needs like food.
Do you think our system right now allows people to stay in those situations long term?
They force them to stay in those situations long term.
Okay, so part
I kind of agree. I mean, I don't like the use of the word force.
of me actually agrees with you, but why do you think they force them to stay in those situations long term?
I think because they are trying to convince the working class that they don't have rights.
I actually don't think that's what it is, although that's very...
Anyway. That's crazy. I don't know why this just skipped ahead. Anyway. Where are we at?
I don't have access to even a result or so. If you're going to debate the ethics of psychology.
I'm not. Where I'm going with this is, who convinced you that you're mentally ill?
Cruz, I believe.
Who did you vote for in 2020?
I'm trying to convince the working class that they don't have rights.
I actually don't think that's what it is, although that's very...
Yeah, she said they're trying to convince the working class they don't have rights.
To your point here, what's the chances that any of you here voted for Donald Trump in 2024? Exactly, right? What is the chances that all of you here can't stand the phrase MAGA, Donald Trump, any of that stuff? Is that a fair assessment? Fair, okay.
Yeah, so what's your
so
point?
think about it this way. So
I ain't gonna lie, he's funny as fuck for that.
maybe you're right that the Democratic Party that's been earning your vote for a long time wants to keep you there because they'll
They
have
have
your vote
never
for the
earned
rest
my
of your
vote.
life.
They have never earned my
Who
vote.
did you vote
Is she even old enough to vote? She's probably been old enough to vote like maybe one time.
for in 2024?
In 24, I voted for the socialist candidate.
Who was that?
Claudia de la Cruz, I believe.
Who did you vote for in 2020?
So she actually voted for a socialist, damn. She actually knows her name too, damn.
I was actually not able to vote. I was in a hospital.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Were you even 18?
Yes,
Sorry.
because of results of capitalism.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so I didn't have access to
You was in the hospital because of results of capitalism. Okay.
proper health care or even access to a proper job that would sustain me as a disabled person.
Are you comfortable being specific on what happened?
I
You don't
guess
have to if
so.
you're not
I mean,
comfortable
I'm
with it.
also mentally ill, so that was something I had to deal with. But I'm mainly mentally ill because I am
So you were in there because of yourself or what?
disabled in a capitalist country.
Hey, tell me more about mentally.
Oh my God. I'm mentally ill because I'm disabled in the capitalist country. How is PBD keeping a straight face right now? Like, this is the one thing that's tripping me out, bro. I would not be able to keep a straight face with somebody like this in front of me.
Mentally ill. Who qualified you as somebody that's mentally ill?
Me and my doctor team.
Who convinced you that you're mentally ill?
Me and my doctor team?
Me and my doctor team.
What's the specific
My doctor team. Why does she keep saying my doctor team? You have a team of doctors?
category of mental illness? Is there one? You know why I asked this question? Let me explain to why I asked this
So
question.
I don't even like the psychological industry. I don't really stand for like Sigmund Freudian politics or
Sure.
anything like that.
Okay. Interesting. This is an interesting person. I don't know why. It's her responses are very interesting to me.
So if you're going to debate the
And she's not really arguing the claim at all, but like what her exchange has turned into is probably the more interesting one of like all the ones I've seen so far.
the ethics of psychology.
I'm not. Where I'm going with this is going back to the same thing with if the money were to divide it equally, it'd end up being worked out within 5 years. My trouble is, in many cases, somebody you and I look up to will say something to us that we choose to believe for the rest of our lives. Unfortunately, it could be something where you have ADHD, you're mentally ill, you're poor, you're this, you're that, and we get to choose to buy into that or not. And if you do...
So you're saying I'm not mentally ill or I'm not
not saying
disabled?
you are or you're not. I would challenge you to go a little bit deeper to see if there's anything you can do about it.
So you're asking me about my health. You're asking me about my disability.
I'm not.
And my...
I will say we are in a market where, stay with me here, there is a...
Actually, I'm pretty sure he don't really give much of a fuck about your shit. And to be honest, I mean, he might even say you're not mentally ill. Although I wouldn't go that far.
Is a market where there's profit to convince you that you have issues to take the medication because they're making money.
Yeah, but I don't
I'm
have
not
access to the
supportive of that.
medication. I don't have access to even a result or a solution to my disability as someone with a connective tissue disorder. It's genetic.
Have you been able to go to different doctors and get yourself tested? And
Yeah.
see? You have?
Yes.
And in California?
Yes, but not
And
enough.
who
I
paid
can't
for it?
find a specialist.
You can't find
I can't find a specialist
Is
for
there
who
anyone
I
in your
am.
life that's
I
willing
can't
to pay
find
for a
anyone.
specialist?
Well, they could, or they would if they had money.
Anybody
But yeah.
Would you be okay if I pay for a specialist for you to go see?
Yeah.
Would you take money from a capitalist to help you go see a specialist?
I mean, yeah, sure. Why
I'm
not?
going to have you go see two. Do you live in California?
Yeah.
I'm going to have you go see two specialists. But would you also be open to seeing somebody else I choose as a psychologist that may...
No.
You're not.
No.
So
you
simply-
choose as a psychologist.
I
You're
would-
choosing who gets to determine
No,
what my
what
mental
I-
health
what
looks
I-
like.
what I-
No.
Okay, then I wish you nothing but the best.
Yeah, so I think...
He said somebody he chooses as a psychologist. I mean, I would just find a psychologist, but I mean, like, you might not want to find somebody that's gonna have the same biases. I mean, I don't know. That was an interesting exchange. I don't know, like the last video, like the other guy was like, he's trying to offer him a job. This chick, he's like, you want me to introduce you to a psychologist? I have some psychologist friends. I can introduce you to a psychologist.
All right, thanks for
Thank you
talking.
so much. Yes, anytime.
What the hell?
How you doing, man?
What's your name?
Seth.
Seth, good to meet you.
I think your claim kind of doesn't make any sense because it would not inherently be a capitalist society you're describing. Because I'm surprised nobody's really addressed this issue. We haven't even defined what socialism is. Capitalism is a system in which all businesses are funded by millionaires and billionaires, investor classes. If this society everybody had the same amount of money, I don't really know how the money would be generated up and down. I don't know in this theoretical. It sounds more like an anarchist society, which would make more sense.
You know,
to me.
we're using this as a hypothetical.
Yeah, so
right?
I
wanna make
understand.
it
I mean-
qualified
My
that
point
we're not-
being, we
yeah.
haven't even described what capitalism
Wait,
is.
But stay on this
what?
point because you came here. Let me go back to this point.
Did he say it sounds more like an anarchist society? He's one of the. He's speaking pretty fast too, so the speed up makes it sound kind of weird.
Describing because I'm surprised nobody's really addressed this issue. We haven't even.
Can't find a specialist
Is
for
there
who
anyone
I
in your
am.
life that-
Psychologist,
I
you're
would-
choosing who...
How you doing, man?
What's your name?
Seth.
Seth, good to meet you.
I think your claim
Okay,
kind of doesn't
Seth.
make any sense because it would not inherently be a capitalist society you're describing. Because I'm surprised nobody's really addressed this issue. We haven't even defined what socialism is. Capitalism is a
Wait.
system in which
If all the money in the world were divided equally, it would return to the same pockets in 5 years. And he's saying that would be a capitalist society?
How you doing, man?
What's your name?
Seth.
Seth, good to meet you.
I think your claim kind of doesn't make any sense because it would not inherently be a capitalist society you're describing. Because I'm surprised nobody's really addressed this issue.
It wouldn't inherently be a capitalist society. Why would that matter? I'm trying to understand the argument he's trying to make. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me right now.
We haven't even defined what socialism is. Capitalism is a system in which all businesses are funded by millionaires.
I mean, have you defined what capitalism is? I mean, everybody's been like trying to debate something here, and some of them been shitting on capitalism, some of them haven't been, but like, I don't think they ever like clarified terms or anything. I don't think that was ever a thing in this episode. I don't think anybody bothered to try to like, hey, what does capitalism mean? What is capitalism? I don't think anybody. They just kind of walked up there with their like assumptions, and we've been pretty much been having the entire conversation based on that the entire time. So
And billionaires, investor classes. If this society
I don't know what this fact check is for. 99.9% of businesses in the U.S. qualify as a small business, according to Forbes. According to J.P. Morgan Chase, the median net worth of self-employed families was $380,000 in 2019. That's not bad. 99.9% of businesses qualify as a small business. Really?
Everybody had the same amount of money. I don't really know how the money would be generated
That's according to Forbes.
up and down. I don't know. In this theoretical, it sounds more like an anarchist society, which would make more sense.
You know,
to me.
we're using this as a hypothetical.
Yeah, so
right?
It doesn't sound like an anarchist society. You wouldn't divide wealth equally. That doesn't sound anarchist.
Which I qualified
my
that
point
we're not.
being, we haven't even described what capitalism is.
But stay on this point here because you came here. Let me go back to this one. If all the money in the world divided equally, it would return to the same pockets within 5 years. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I disagree.
Tell me
because
why you
I
disagree.
believe in a system more akin to that kind of system. I think that a system with people with more wealth and
But do
equality.
you know why the wealth would go back to the same people and the same people
I
at
know
the
why it
bottom would be poor?
wouldn't.
Why do you think it would?
Well, it wouldn't go back to the same thing or places because I don't think that we have an inherent equal starting point in the beginning.
But this is a starting point. What
No,
I'm saying to you is, if we
that's why I'm
right now
saying
did a
why it
case
wouldn't go
study,
to the same places because we've never even tested some sort of free market. We've never seen any sort of system akin to that, a genuine free market, not one that's distorted by capitalists, by business owners. Capitalists generally protect their own class. That's why people rise to the top. Yes,
I don't know about
absolutely.
that. I actually think it's a
Absolutely.
very
They protect
competitive
their own-
place to be.
No, there's not at all. People start
Yeah.
at the bottom. They have no shot.
Do
It
you
is.
know why?
It's very like technically the entire point of capitalism is like competition to a certain degree, right?
I make the claim of if all the money in the world were divided equally, would return to the same pockets within 5
I'm
years.
assuming that you think that because people work harder or something like that. But
It's-
I would
it's-
argue the
it's-
people that work the hardest are the people that make the least amount of money. The people that work the least, live on their yachts, are the ones that are owning all this company. They've never been inside the businesses that they own.
I don't know if I agree with that. I was just
Not
in
everybody,
Arkansas 3 days
but
ago.
the richest
Yeah, for some reason it's like these people think that like not doing like hard labor or all of the things that they would probably associate with work, like that like a business owner, like especially of like a multi-million-dollar company, isn't working. It's like, yeah, sure, it's probably white collar work, but like that's still work. So it's actually a lot of the time it's very stressful work too. Imagine being responsible for a multi-billion-dollar company and having, meetings and things scheduled like all throughout the day, having to talk to people about like large amounts of money and make sure that everything happens. And if something doesn't happen, you're basically the one that has to take responsibility for that. I mean, there's a lot of work and responsibility in running and owning a business. Now, you might just be an owner and have somebody else running it for you. But even then, like, I mean, like, are you supposed to be busting your ass once you get to that point? Does that mean that you never fucking worked, that you didn't work at all for it? Like, come on.
I was just in Arkansas a week ago, and I went to a city called Hot Springs, Arkansas. It was two friends from high school started a Windows company, 250 employees.
Yeah.
The city loves them. They work their tails off.
I'm not really
They're
referring to small businesses.
But I'm talking
Sure.
about, but many big businesses started small. Walmart wasn't
sure.
big day one. Walmart was small when it first got started.
Why are they still a monopoly? Because they exist off
They're
of
not a monopoly.
Yeah, a lot of big businesses were like small when it got started, like Walmart. Yeah.
Amazon is taking a big share away from them.
Oligopoly, whatever. They own a large market
Do
share
you
because of their ability to use their money
Do
to
you know how
lobby
many
it.
jobs they've created around the world? Walmart has.
I'm not even referring
It's
to
3 million
Walmart.
jobs
the
worldwide.
The point being is capitalists distort the market so it's unfree. How could it be a free market
Okay,
if
so-
everybody in the
Walmart says it has approximately 2.1 million,
market inherently wants to make an
according to Jubilee's fact check.
unfree because they want
So
to rise to the
I'm
top.
watching
if
you.
everybody has the incentive to maintain a free market, then that's something that
So let me go back. The reason why I said if all the money in the world were divided equally, it would return to the same pockets within 5 years. To me, it's because of market value, what value you bring to the place, your contacts, your relationship, how hard you're working, all of those combined. Habits
those
that you have in
things, for
place,
sure.
habits that you have in place, and also habits at the bottom. The habits at the bottom are not long-term thinking, it's short-term. When I didn't have any money and I was broke $49,000, if I had $500 to my name, we're driving on the freeway to go to Vegas to party for the weekend and come back. If I had a penny to my name, I'm having a blast. Until 25 years old, I changed my habits financially. Then things changed. But this point here that we're talking about with the
some
wealth,
people are so far off from that point, they're so far in debt that small decisions would
No,
not alter.
it's not true.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not true.
That's,
It's not-
you're
Yeah, I mean, that's not overall, that's not necessarily true. That's not the situation that most people are in. PBD is pretty much right here. Like when he says like you gotta just gotta save your money a lot of the time. Like you're not necessarily in a position where you couldn't do any of these things. It just requires like a lot of sacrifice.
just privileged and you
No instant gratification. The instant gratification will like bleed your money.
live in a certain
You think
example.
I'm privileged?
Well,
I'm
yes,
privileged.
You're privileged
My
to become a
dad
millionaire
worked.
because
My
of your
dad
hard work.
worked.
That's amazing.
My
That's the only
mom
person.
ran out of money and went back to Iran. You're talking.
Privileged to have become a millionaire because of your hard work. Is it a privilege to work hard for something and achieve it? Like I feel like that's diminishing his achievements.
to a guy that would have done 20 years in the army. If one guy doesn't call me, if one guy would have called me,
the government funding you.
I understand that, and I joined the army because I had given up on life.
Social programs.
No,
Absolutely.
I was not confident on what I could do, but I changed. So can you? Look at the way you're speaking to me.
You can change. You can work hard, but
do you know somebody like you? Do you know somebody like you that speaks this eloquently? If somebody gets a hold of you in real estate, insurance, finance, you can learn how to sell, and you can make some real good money. Somebody like you that I watch.
Everybody's born with those abilities. You have to be
brother.
Somebody who's white, tall, 6'4",
I mean, what the? Why did he say white?
whatever.
I'm Middle Eastern. I'm from Iran. Do you realize a lot of stuff that goes against me?
Yeah, that shit was crazy just now.
Okay, but many people have no choice.
But that's an excuse language to be making. That's not a language.
Yeah, it is. Like, you're making excuses.
You never have the opportunity to compete because you're pre-designed.
I appreciate you being respectful. Truly.
I mean, he's right, but that's an excuse.
You need to know that. So and I'll be respectful to everybody.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate you for being respectful. Right now, everybody that's here, me changing your
We got off the claim. This guy kind of started off trying to argue against the original claim, but we got off on a side tangent again.
mind, it's not a very high likelihood,
Sure.
okay? The audience that's watching, 40% of them are going to agree with what you say, and they hate me. 40% of the audience is going to agree with me. 20% of the audience is in the middle saying, I don't know, man, what do you think I should do? Should I feel like a victim or should I not make excuses? So what is that guy saying? Or should I do this or should I sympathize? The 20% that's watching this, that has a fighting chance, I'm hoping they realize they can do something about their lives. We're not going to be able to solve 100% of people's problems, unfortunately.
I don't think people should keel over, but that doesn't mean most people have an equal
I mean, look, PBD has some good rhetoric, man.
competitive advantage to some.
I think everybody has a certain gift to offer.
Like me is more privileged
I think
inherently.
everybody, listening to her present, she could be a lawyer. Listening to her present, she's got fire in her belly.
Hey, he's a pretty convincing guy. He must have been a good salesman.
Everybody here has got a gift. Every single person here has got a gift. What did they choose to use it in a way to help them advance in life? That's not my fault.
Everybody
That's on
can
them.
afford to increase their market value.
You can.
No,
You actually
not
can.
everybody.
Well, we respectfully.
Not everybody can afford to increase their market value. I don't know if I agree with that. You can improve. All you have to do is gain more skills, more marketable skills. And then you're right. Not everybody can afford to pay for certain classes or certifications or whatever. But you can still build on your skills, gain experience, and use that. Everybody can afford time. You just got to use your time wisely.
Fully disagree.
I appreciate
Thank you again. Appreciate you.
Surrounded is currently casting passionate 55 and older Trump supporters who are ready to have a thoughtful conversation about politics, generational differences in the current administration. If this is you, apply using the link in the description. Feel free to spread the word to your family members, relatives, or friends who might be interested.
Casting passionate Trump supporters age 55 plus. Why is this so funny to me? This is just fucking hilarious to me. They're quite literally cast. All right, so when the people said they're all actors, is this proof? Is this proof that they're all acting? Are they all indeed actors? I don't know. It's looking like it, I guess. Interesting.
My final claim is the U.S. is more socialist than capitalist today. If you hate the system, you're anti-socialist.
Hello.
We're back at it again.
Yep. Yeah, so I think it's super important here for all leftists alike, but...
This is an interesting claim. Okay, so I think he's really got something with this one. This is a good one. This one is way more contentious. They can actually really get into a debate on this one. So the U.S. is more socialist than capitalist. A lot of people would argue that today. And today, if you hate the system, you're anti-socialist. So what you hate about the system, he's going to probably argue is the result of the socialist policies because it is more socialist than capitalist in his opinion. So let's see what she has to say. Quang. Look at her all buttered up.
For the audience in general to define what these terms are, I think the best way to do it would be to look at the theorists, right? Over history, we've seen communism and socialism talked about by governments and by, programs, but we never actually read the actual theory. And what theorists all agree on is that socialism would be a transitionary state between capitalism and communism, where the means of production are specifically owned by workers, not privately. The idea that any country now is anywhere near socialist, let alone communist, would simply be ridiculous and it wouldn't reflect theory whatsoever.
What is the definition of communism to you?
So, wait. I got to hear her over again.
My final claim is the U.S. is more socialist than capitalist today. If you hate the system, you're anti-socialist.
Hello.
We're back at it again.
Yep. Yeah, so I think it's super important here for all leftists alike, but for the audience in general to define what these terms are, I think the best way to do it would be to look at
Okay, yeah. So she said she wanted to define what the terms are.
the theorists, right? Over history, we've seen communism and socialism talked about by governments and by, I guess, programs, but not we never actually read the actual theory. And what theorists
So, wait, so you don't think anybody's read the theory? She doesn't think anybody's like familiar with the Communist Manifesto or something? Is that what she's saying? Is that one? Am I using that one yet?
all agree on is that socialism would be a transitionary state between capitalism and communism, where the means of production are specifically owned by workers.
So socialism is, oh yeah, okay. I mean, but wait a minute. Wasn't that just Marx? Did she say that?
Not privately. The idea that any country now is anywhere near socialist, let alone communist, would simply be ridiculous and just it wouldn't reflect theory. What
My final claim is the
stateless, moneyless class of society.
And you prefer that?
Stateless, moneyless class of society.
And you
is anywhere near socialist, let alone communist.
My final claim is the U.S. is more socialist than capitalist today.
I just noticed. Did she got a little lisp?
If you hate the system, you're anti-socialist.
Hello.
You're back at it again.
Yep. Yeah. So I think it's super important here for all left.
Cute little lisping ass.
You're gonna give it a serious look. I want to understand, how would you propose that happen?
I hope you realize this is just a question we're asking everybody, right? But if you take all the wealth, stock, mutual fund, none of that stuff.
This is crazy.
I had no clue how.
I don't know why it took me all the way
My
back
final
there.
claim is the U.S. is more socialist than capitalist today.
It's
If you
crazy.
hate the system, okay, so you're not capitalist. Like me should exist with the amount of wealth that I have.
Yeah, because I think that we're getting to this point where we're creating is anywhere near socialist, let alone communist.
My final claim is the U.S. is more
All right,
socialist than
I'm gonna
capitalist
start
today.
from the beginning
If you
again.
hate the
Fuck it.
system, you're anti-socialist.
All right.
Hello.
You're back at it again.
Yep. Yeah, so I think it's super important here for all leftists alike, but for the audience in general to define what these terms are. I think the best way to do it would be to look at the theorists, right? Over history, we've seen communism and socialism talked about by governments and by, I guess, programs, but not we never actually read the actual theory. And what theorists all agree on is that socialism would be a transitionary state between capitalism and communism. Where
So she said theorists all agree on this. That's why I wanted to hear this again. I mean, I don't know enough about socialism to know if that's true, but I suspect that it's not. But I guess we can continue.
means production are specifically owned by workers, not privately. The idea that any country now is anywhere near socialist, let alone communist, would simply
Yeah, but how do they own it and not own it private? Okay.
be ridiculous and just it wouldn't reflect theory whatsoever.
What is the definition of communism to you?
Stateless, moneyless class of society.
And you prefer that?
Yeah, so I think that we should be moving towards,
communism.
Yeah, stateless, moneyless class of society.
So
yeah.
you don't think a person like me should exist with the amount of wealth that I have?
Yeah, because I think that we're getting to this point where we're creating fake scarcity for people like you to accumulate the wealth that you have on the basis of private ownership.
Okay, so you're not even...
Okay. So people can't own things, I guess?
You're not capitalist. You're definitely not capitalist. You're not socialist. You want to go full communism.
So what do you think that looks like, though, is the thing, right? So what Marx actually wanted was for us to reach a point where we no longer have the scarcity of resources that has kind of predicted, history as it looks like now. It wouldn't happen now. It would happen as we automate. At this point in time, we can decommodify housing and food and education for around 5% of the government budget. That's 1/5, a little bit over 1/5 of what we spend.
Did she say you could? Damn, Jubilee. Hold on. Hold up.
That things
How
like
old
food
were
and
you the
shelter
first
can
time
be
you thought you wanted to be a communist? How old were you?
Did they get to me? But they got to her before me. Like this, she said this. They said this claim is not realistic.
Now would happen as we automate. At this point in time, we can decommodify housing and food and education.
We could decommodify housing and food.
For around 5% of the government budget.
And then Jubilee's fact check says this claim is not realistic. For instance, U.S. consumers and entities spend $2.6 trillion on food alone in 2024. The government spent a total of $6.75 trillion, so food would have been 38% of that. So she said, like, they're basically saying we can't decommodify food or housing or whatever. If we were to try to decommodify it, like, it'd be 38% of, or apparently in 2024. Yeah. Just simply what people needed. Or I don't know. That's kind of weird. Like, so their fact check is a little weird because it says consumers and entities spent 2.6 trillion on food alone. Now, does that mean that they needed 2.6 trillion in food alone? I don't know. They said the government spent a total of 6.75 trillion. So food would have been like, yeah, it would have been like 38% of that number if they were spending that much. But I know it just seems like there's a weird way to address what she said. Because, I mean, they're right that her claim is not realistic. I don't necessarily agree because of the numbers that they're putting out there. I mean, that is a lot of money, right? But it's just a weird way to describe like why her claim is not realistic. Like decommodifying food. Maybe like she might have some kind of an argument with housing, but even then, like, but decommodifying food, especially good, healthy foods, probably going to be kind of hard.
Budget. That's 1/5, a little bit over 1/5 of what we spend on the military already. We don't, because we were living in the state where it almost seems utopian that things like food.
Oh, is it? Did they say it about this part? Because he said like 1/5 of what we're spending on the military already. Because that kind of relates to what they're talking about. Like it wouldn't, that definitely wouldn't be. I don't think.
The first time you thought you wanted to be a communist, how old were you?
Is that a response to any of the statistics?
No, because the statistics are against you. It's never worked. There's so many Cubans that moved to Miami. They love their country. They hate the politics. In Russia, they even went away from communism because it didn't work. It killed so many people.
Almost like it wasn't communist.
I mean, all right. So I don't disagree with PBD. Like if these were like quote unquote communist governments, then Cuba would be a good example. But I think she would argue that these were not like real communism. Real communism hasn't been tried yet. Is what I expect her argument to be.
It's almost amateurish.
Yes, there was. Was there class? Yes, there was. It's almost like you're not replying to any of the statistics that I've presented to you. I think that's the biggest problem.
You're a dictator telling you what dreams should be.
Dictators would not be allowed under communism.
Dictators end up, of course, running communism.
But they weren't.
If somebody's taxing 100%, what is a dictatorship?
So again, how much money do you think? How much money
taxes? What is communism?
How much money do you think?
Dictatorship.
How much money do you think would it take to? I don't know.
I don't know why he wouldn't just let her like finish so like he could talk out. I don't like that.
Allow everyone food, shelter, water, and education in this country.
How much money would it take?
Yeah.
But going back to your question here with communism, stay on that point here with communism.
Nothing I say is responded
but
to.
I'm trying to find out from you here. You're saying communism is not dictatorship.
No.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, how does she expect him to know that answer?
Define dictatorship.
Yeah. So when one person or when one small entity is able to enforce its will on the people, when we have a private ownership, when we have a system based on private ownership, that's what happens every single
dictatorship.
Time. Yeah. So
dictatorship is private ownership.
Yeah. So private ownership.
What is wrong with private ownership? Like, why the fuck can't people own shit, bro?
Communism under communism doesn't Elon Musk exist?
Yeah, no.
No, so that's dictatorship. Thank you.
That's completely incorrect. Under capitalism, we don't have the freedom for people to.
You do.
Okay, so under capitalism, right? We don't see that the commodification.
Would you consider China communism
right now? Would you consider China communism right now? Shelter or water or education when we can with 5% of the budget.
What? I'm sorry. She's not making good arguments, but he's also like, why the fuck won't you just let her like finish talking?
Why don't we see that?
Would you consider China communism?
Why haven't you answered any of my questions?
Would you consider
Why
China?
haven't you responded to any of my statistics?
And yeah, are you gonna like address what she's saying too? Like it's just like, because it's annoying. Because like he'll like start talking, want to address what she's saying, but then she'll like start talking while he's talking. He'll continue talking while she's talking, and it's like, one of y'all got to stop.
Would you consider China communism?
It's almost like we're not having a conversation.
We are having a conversation, but you have an argument that's been proven that it's not working.
It's almost like I just gave.
He's not. I mean, technically, you could argue what she thinks she's proposing hasn't been tried. And even though you're technically right, you still got to kind of, this is like a give and take. You got to kind of, it's you're debating, but you're still also kind of have a conversation. Like you can't be doing that, man.
Gave you a definition of communism for you to critique, and you haven't been able to.
If it's such a great system, why are other nations not? It hasn't happened yet
because we've never been at a point for it to happen.
Because we've not found a.
Yeah, this is just an appeal to popularity. Like you got to actually provide something. Like you got to provide some kind of evidence besides, oh well, this supposed communist government, and all these other supposed communist governments have failed. Like, okay, Now, like, I mean, that is some level of evidence, but like, you gotta have a little bit more than just that. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think he really addressed anything she said directly.
Noble person
No, because
that can do it the right way. That's not
if
a
you were to read the
dictator.
plain text of Marx, we would see that he wanted
I've
us
read
to reach.
Communist Manifesto. I've gone
I
through
promise you, if you
have
have,
read
you
Wealth
wouldn't
of
have said
Nations?
that capitalism today is socialist.
Have you read Wealth of
Yeah,
Nations?
so I've read.
That's a good question. Have you read Wealth of Nations? I have not finished it, no. I did read the Communist Manifesto.
Das Kapital. I've read Communist Manifesto as well, Engels' Collective Works, etc. What do you think? If you think that communism is in any way us having wages or us having,
He thinks it's dictatorship. I mean, hey, he comes from a Cuban bloodline, so anybody tell you it's somebody who's lived under a communist government or somebody who descends from people from communist governments, because they usually preach against it. So I don't know what to tell you.
privatized music production, you don't know what it is.
You choose my dreams, and I refuse to do that.
Who are you
don't
arguing
get to dictate my
with? Where did you
dreams.
get that from?
What do you mean?
Well, haven't I? That was interesting.
Yeah, that wasn't a good look for him. I mean, she didn't really make the best arguments anyway, but like, I just don't like the way he engaged there. I thought it was kind of embarrassing.
Let's go. Justin, nice
Justin, good to meet you.
How you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Justin.
So I need to pick your brain a little bit. You're saying U.S. is largely socialist. I want to focus on the word largely. So why do you believe it is
largely
socialist?
Because 68% or so of the money that we take in goes towards entitlement programs.
So I think one of the things that is going to be major to me, it's like Zena was touching on earlier, is going to be the fact that
Did he say 41% goes to entitlement programs?
socialism is a big part of it is going to be workers owning the means of production. When we have President Biden, for example, telling that the railroad strikers, it's going to be illegal for them to strike, I don't see that as much of a workplace democracy.
Did you have a question, or you're just saying the fact that you don't agree with President Biden and what he said?
I'm just saying a core tenet of socialism is the workers owning the means of production.
So the workers
Okay.
currently do not own the means of production. So why do you believe it is largely socialist?
So you're saying the workers should...
I mean, they have the ability to unionize. I don't know, like, what... The only way you could actually get it to where the workers own the means of production in any meaningful way is like to forcefully take it away from the people who have it. So, I mean, sure, it's not necessarily socialist in that way, but I mean, like, there's more to socialism than just that, right? That's like a core tenet, but that doesn't mean that's the entire kit and caboodle, right?
Own the means of...
He's just saying it's more socialist than capitalist. He didn't say it was like fully socialist.
Production?
That's correct.
Okay, so to you, that's the definition of socialism.
That is the core tenet of it.
What else would you define as socialism? I'm curious.
There's a lot of different things, like Zena was touching on as well. Moneyless, stateless classes society, but I think more important than not, workers owning the means.
Stateless, classless society. It's just not realistic at all.
Are you more communist or are you more socialist?
They're the same term, man. Marx used them interchangeably.
The only difference I would put is because where I see in America, I think we are extremely getting close to being a socialistic nation with the amount of taxes that we have in place right now.
That's great.
But at least under communism, I can't survive. I would prefer us staying at the 10% tax rate. I think we're paying way too much taxes.
Why would you not be able to survive?
I wouldn't be able to pursue my dreams that I have in place under communism. My mother's family, they were part of the Two-Day Party. The Two-Day Party in Iran was a communist party. They had escaped Armenia and Russia and came down to Iran, and they pursued communism. I grew up in a family where everything was about the rich are greedy, the rich people are bad, the rich people are this, and the rich...
I thought he was Cuban too. Didn't he say that?
People are that. My dad's side, they were imperialist. My dad's
Was that? Oh, wait, so he's Armenian and Cuban?
side, they said poor people are lazy. So one side, rich people
Or was he just fully Armenian? Like, I swear I thought he said he was Cuban or something.
are greedy. The other side, poor people are lazy. Who's right?
I would say that neither are right, of course.
I would say both are right and wrong, is what I would say.
Both are right.
And
okay.
wrong. Both are right and wrong. Because I do believe there are extremely greedy rich people. And
Both are right and wrong. Okay. Interesting. This is like a kind of a weird way to make your argument.
I do believe there are extremely lazy poor people. But I also believe there's a lot of hardworking poor people that are working, but they haven't found a way to get out of it. I agree with that as well.
So that's actually a major point right there. They're not able to get out of it.
You can get out of it. You could actually get out of it.
But you just said they're not able to.
No, because they're choosing not to. I just made an offer for a book recommendation here, so I'm not interested. If I sit there and somebody's giving you feedback and saying, what about if you think about finding a way
Offer
to
me
your
that book
life?
then. I'll
You
check it
can
out.
read the book?
Sure, why
I'll
not?
give you a handful of them.
We'll talk about this
I'll
after
give it to
this.
you after.
Yeah,
All
of course.
the point I'm trying to make to you is, if you can exist under a capitalistic society, and
Yeah, I mean, like, see, he's making. This is why I see, like, see, even the guy is like, oh, I'll look into that. But see, that's the thing. Like, people make choices that stick them in the place that they are in. It doesn't mean that they wouldn't be able to get out of the situation. It just means that they keep making the choices that they're making, they're not going to. And it doesn't mean that they're lazy. It's just that you're not making the right choices to achieve what you want. You can want it all you want, but and you can work towards it in any way you want. But at the end of the day, some are gonna be more beneficial than others. Like some are gonna get you there faster. Some sacrifices will, get you over the finish line faster than others.
And I can exist under capitalistic society, so can she. But
okay, we can both exist under a socialist society.
Not under communistic, and under socialism, the incentive would be bad. Think about it this way.
Incentive is high under socialism
During COVID, take the two states, California and New York. They lost $1 trillion of wealth that left. Do you know where they went to?
Where did they
went
go
to Texas, Nevada, Florida, Tennessee. You know why? Because it's a better climate for entrepreneurs. Today,
That's true.
If you look at New York City,
yeah,
you know
that's just how the market works.
You know Mamdani is.
I understand how
you know
market.
Mamdani is. Are you a fan of Mamdani?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
I love Zoran.
Zoran's up there saying he doesn't believe billionaires should exist.
Correct.
I hope he wins. I hope he wins. You know why? Because he says, I don't believe.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but no, we don't hope he wins.
Billionaire should exist, and he's going to be the mayor of a city that has the most billionaires in America, 123. I hope he wins so we can see what happens to New York when the billionaires leave. When they leave, here's who's going to pay the price. The people that are left behind who were taking advantage of the taxes that billionaires were paying. You think the government's going to change their budget expenditure?
When there's a $30 minimum wage, I can't imagine that
Middle America's going to take the biggest hit if billionaires leave the state of New York. You'll see.
If billionaires leave, middle Americans are going to take the biggest hit. He might be right.
Oh, you're back.
Hello,
How are
again.
you? Good to see you.
A bit more.
Okay.
Firstly, I want to start by saying that the U.S. is not largely socialist because that's not what socialism is. Socialism is social or collective ownership by the workers
Okay.
or a community of the means of production, right? So we're talking about.
So they're all kind of making the same argument on this one. They're like, because workers don't own the means of production, it's not more socialist than capitalist. I don't really think that makes sense. He said it's more socialist than capitalist. He didn't say it was like fully socialist or could be fully defined as socialist. That's not what he said. Obviously, when he says more socialist than capitalist, he's saying that the government operates more socially or socialistically than capitalistically. And I guess he's basing that on like the amount of social programs and shit like that. That's the only thing he really mentioned was like the percentage that we spend on social programs.
Like city-run grocery stores, or we're talking about worker cooperatives, or even in some cases credit unions, where a local community owns the bank that they take part in, right? That's what socialism is. Socialism is not when the government does stuff for you. It's not when they build roads. It happens under capitalist economies. It happens under socialist economy.
Now, all right, so I think this is what the disconnect is. Okay, so if we're talking about the way the U.S. runs its economy, I think even they've already said like it's like a mixed economy or whatever, right? I think that things like even like something like Obamacare are examples of how your government is utilizing socialist policies. And then that's what I think they're talking about when they're looking at how socialist or capitalist it is. They're talking about like, okay, do we have more socialist influence here in terms of programs that are available and programs that are used, or capitalist programs that we have and that are used, like whether it's the number of them or which ones are more popular, I don't know. But they're gonna have to they're gonna be looking at just the degrees, and they're gonna be looking at policy specifically, because you can't just be like, oh well, not being a fully socialist country or a fully socialist economy means that it can't be more socialist than capitalist in terms of policy. Like you can trace where like certain policies were influenced from and the people that propose certain policies and determine like, are we going to call this a socialist policy or a capitalist policy? Like you can do that. And if your government has more of those socialist policies, then you could probably fairly argue that your government is more socialist than capitalist. But assume I don't know anything about economics.
But I'm also not sure you entirely know what capitalism is. And if it's okay, I'd like to ask a couple questions about your job.
Sure.
Because you're offering that. I know that you're valuetainment, right? You run a YouTube podcast. You also run PHP Agency, right?
Yep.
Yes. And you sell life insurance policies, right?
Life insurance and annuities.
Yes. I read an article by the Daily Beast which argued that you make more money from recruitment fees to get people to work for you than you make money from selling those policies. Capitalism is when you provide a service and sell the labor of.
So he literally. So he really he makes more money off of like his employees, bringing him more employees than he does off of like the company itself, like the business itself. That's kind of funny.
Of yourself or the person who works for you in return for money. But you're not really doing that, right? You're selling being part of the company through recruitment fees. I'm not sure that's capitalism.
How familiar are you with the insurance industry?
Pretty familiar.
Are you?
How is that not capitalism? You know, don't people pay to be in association with other people all the time? Like, that's a thing.
Yes.
You've been in the industry before?
No, my grandfather was. And
Okay,
I asked him a lot of
so
questions.
in the insurance industry, when you're in it,
Yes.
you get paid
Yes.
by selling life insurance policies, and you get paid by selling annuities.
Yes.
We built a distribution channel of a company right after I left Morgan
Sure.
Stanley and Transamerica. We started the insurance company. We grew it,
Okay.
helping middle-income families who didn't have another opportunity to create wealth for themselves. I just came back from
Hold
an
on.
event in Vegas.
Hold on. I'm
Let
not
me
sure
say
that's
this to
correct,
you.
though.
It is though.
It's not
I
correct,
just,
though, because
let me
what do you
make
make
my
more
point.
money
I just
from?
came back from. We don't make money from recruiting.
I read the Daily Beast article that did that. I
So he said that's fake news.
also watched
So
CoffeeZilla's debate with you, where they pulled up receipts that the majority of the employees of your company don't make any
Here's
money.
a question for you. Here's a question
Sure.
for you. Bring up CoffeeZilla.
Yeah.
Daily Beast is a different story. Go to CoffeeZilla.
Sure, of course.
Do you think if I was worried about my business model, I would go on CoffeeZilla? What do you think? Do you
I think
if
that
if
it's
I
not really
was-
capitalist.
Hang on a second. Do you think if I was worried about my business model, I would go on CoffeeZilla? They were actually very strong when they came back after me. We had a 2-hour conversation.
Yes.
We finished it. It was good to go. We moved on. Their claims that only 1% or 2% make and nobody makes it in insurance, they're right. Most people don't make it in insurance. Just like most people who move to California don't make it in Hollywood.
So-
Yeah.
Well, I believe
And
the
most people
technical
don't make it in
term for
real
when you
estate.
make more money from getting people to be part of a company than from actually selling a service is called a multi-level marketing scheme. Do you think that that's
No,
a
that's
fair
not-
No, that's not what that is. I mean, that is something that is probably true of most multi-level marketing companies. But like, cause that's technically the actual business model. I think it's low-key a Ponzi scheme too. But no. Like, if you happen to make more money off of recruitment fees, that would be completely separate. Which I don't even know how that would even work.
characterization
Not at all.
of your company? Why not?
Do you know what a multi-level is?
Yes, I know. It's where you make more money from. It's sort of
That's
like a
not the
pyramid scheme,
definition.
wherein
No.
No,
you make more money
Let
from
me-
getting people to be part of it and selling them
let
to be
me
part of the
educate
company.
no. That's not how that works.
A pyramid scheme doesn't have
Sure.
a product. That's criminal. A multi-level marketing company is more like
Yeah, a pyramid scheme. That's what it is.
an Amway, an Herbalife, a New Skin, those companies.
But
because it pays you
You are making more money
multi-level.
from getting people
No,
to be
it
part of your
pays
company
you-
than you are from making money from
That's-
actually providing
that's
a
not
service.
true. It's a
I would
claim by
argue.
Daily Beast. By the way, do you know what quality of earnings is?
Yes.
What's the quality of earnings? Tell everybody what quality of earnings is. Go ahead.
Fair point. The quality of earnings isn't that like the value that's produced from when you make the money, like how much from the labor that's produced, or am I
What
wrong?
is quality of earnings?
I give you what I think
That's
the definition is.
Okay. So quality of earnings is I sit there and I want to sell the business to you.
Yeah.
You make an offer of $250 million. Okay. I tell you,
Sure.
this is my business. Here's how much profit we make. You leave and you say, great, let's make a deal. I'll pay $250 million. We shake on it. Then you validate whether it is worth that or not by going and paying a big company a few $100,000 to check the
Okay,
quality.
so same deal as
of
like having
your
someone look
earnings.
at the quality of the gold
No,
that you're going to buy.
PwC
basically.
came
So he just schooled them.
and they do a quality of earnings to say,
Sure.
is this company really worth this? They get to make a decision whether the company is truly doing what you are.
Right. What isn't that like also called like an appraisal? I'm trying to think of the word.
Daily Beast claims to do.
The
And you know
value
what ended
comes
up
from your
happening?
brand. It
Do you know
comes
what
from
ended
going
up
on podcasts like that, even when they
do you know-
expose
do you
the
know
business
what
model,
ended up
because you were
happening?
not selling.
Do you know what ended up happening? Don't make claims
Do you know what
about.
you're selling?
Do you know what ended up
Do you know
happening?
what you're selling,
Do you
right?
know what ended up
Do you know
happening?
what you're selling?
The company
You're selling.
This is the guy who wanted to get into the economics and the terms and the business stuff, but like he won't let PBD talk because PBD started cooking this thing. He's like, "Do you know what the quality of earnings is?" He's like, "Well, but the
your personal brand. You're selling the idea because when you're offering people here jobs, right? You're saying that they would have to pay you money to get that. So in reality, you're trying to convince them to pay you money to be part of your company.
Be careful with your claims of defaming. Be very careful defaming when you don't know the facts.
You have a recruitment fee.
No, be very careful claiming. Be very careful making a claim when you said people here have to pay to work at our company.
It's recruitment.
Be very careful. No, those are two different things.
Yeah, that's completely different. I mean, there are two types of those you can have. Because a lot of the time, the employees that recruit other employees also get like a bonus.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Tatiana.
Tatiana?
Yes,
Good to meet
Anya. But yes. And your name's Patrick, right?
It is.
And I don't know a lot about you before coming in today. But why do you use socialism and capitalism like in this instance? I've noticed a lot of people have defined the vast differences, but you're insisting that we're still like a more socialist like country.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's actually been able to refute what he's saying yet. Not that I even think that he's really made much of an argument for it. It's just that they're not even really arguing against the claim itself, or they kind of seem to. I think they're purposely misinterpreting the claim so that they can argue that it's not socialist because workers don't own the means of production.
Why are you insisting on
That's
that?
a fair question. So for me, there's different definitions you can have. Under communism, to me, it's 100% taxes, meaning I can't go create my own property. If I want to build a billion-dollar company, I can't do it under communism. Is that a fair assessment?
I don't know about that.
Yes, I guess it is.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
So capitalism, I would ideally like to see taxes between 10 to 30% max. I'd like a flat tax, but somewhere between 10 to 30% because I still do think there's certain things that the government needs to do. Military, protection, certain things. Socialism to me is 30% and up. Anything above that you're taking the money away from me without my choice to use it for things where we get to 68% of entitlement programs, I'm not a fan of that.
Okay, so let's talk about where
I mean, hold on. Let me hear that one more time. Because that was interesting the way he just said that.
Right.
It is.
And I don't know a lot about you before coming in today. But why do you use socialism and capitalism like in this instance? I've noticed a lot of people have defined the vast differences, but you're insisting that we're still like a more socialist like country. Why are you insisting on
That's
that?
a fair question. So for me, there's different definitions you can have. Under communism, to me, it's 100% tax.
Is he focusing on taxes?
Meaning I can't go create my own property. If I want to build a billion-dollar company, I can't do it under communism. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, I guess it is.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
So capitalism, I would ideally like to see.
That is a particular thing you could associate with communism, sure.
Taxes between 10 to 30% max. I'd like a flat tax, but somewhere between 10 to 30% because I still do think there's certain things that the government needs to do. Military, protection, certain things. Socialism to me is 30% and up. Anything above that you're taking the money away from me without my choice to use it for.
So yeah, he's basing it all on the amount of the money that they're taking from the business owner.
Things where we get to 68% of entitlement programs, I'm not a fan of that.
Okay, so let's talk about where we're at. I believe you said reasonable.
To be fair, I don't like his definition of socialism or capitalism or whatever, but if that's what he's saying, then I mean, technically his claim is correct based on his own definitions. I don't think you get to have your own definitions, but sure.
Wage and minimum wage. What about a livable wage? And we haven't really talked about livable wages because they
What
kind
do you
of
think
differ.
about minimum wage? So what do you think?
So
minimum
I
wage
think
should
we have
be?
a long way to go.
Okay.
I'm not really a big fan of these little increment things, especially when it's like it's not like rent is stopping and leveling out. It's like it's far exceeding what most people
I don't disagree, for
make.
sure. Yep.
And so I'm just wondering how you still can sit here and say that when I know you like to talk about you came up from Haagen-Dazs and all this other stuff.
In Glendale
and,
Galleria, 20 minutes away
great,
from here.
love that for you. But we're talking about
Yeah, how much is he working for at Haagen-Dazs? Like, I think when I was looking it up, they were paying like, it was like minimum wage was like $4 around the time he would have been working at Haagen-Dazs.
where you are today and where I am, a majority of these people in the room. And I haven't really heard. Yes, we can change, but I think that there's certain systems.
Are you talking minimum wage? You want to address the minimum wage
We can talk
topic?
minimum wage, but I like to say livable wage because I think they're two very different things.
What do you think it should be?
I think that we should go per state because every state is different in
Give me
terms
a
of what
number.
they
Where do
have.
you live? You live in
I
California?
live in California,
What do you think it
so
should be?
based on the
Minimum wage.
MIT living wage calculator, it's an actual livable wage calculator. It's 2781 should be the starting, and then
2781 is the actual living wage. Where? I would agree. It's somewhere around there. Like, yeah, it's at least 30 low key. I ain't gonna lie. Like, to not essentially be in poverty, and that's per hour. I think per year, it's like, what per year? How much is that per year?
And if you have kids and so forth, then you can like go up from there.
Okay.
But starting at about $27 hourly.
Let's look at case studies of what happened. California chose to increase the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 an hour, restaurant workers. Do you know what happened in the state of California? Mass exodus. People left and went different places. You know what restaurant owners did? Like, I can't compete with these guys if you raise the minimum wage. But the challenge with minimum wage is also the following. So say there's two companies. You have Walmart, okay, in Bakersfield, pick a city, and you have a different supermarket that's been in the same family for 60 years. The governor here says we're going to raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour. Who do you think can afford it?
Yeah, I mean, she's right. Like, yeah, it's about like $27, $30 an hour, because that's about like 60,000 a year. I have to calculate taxes, but I'm like it's still about 60,000 a year. At 30, 27 is still a little below that, but it's still at least like 55,000 a year, which is, I think, bare minimum what you would need to live comfortably nowadays and not be in like poverty. Because just to be honest, I mean, personally, anything under like 50, 60,000 is like poverty to me.
Afford it. The market that's been within a family, the small business. What do you think Walmart? Who do you think can afford to go to $20 an hour minimum wage?
So that's why I think we have to factor in other systems other than capitalism. I think you're kind of making the point that's been made a few times today, where you can't just look at one thing.
No, this hasn't made. The point I'm making here is, anytime a Bernie Sanders gets up and says, let's raise the minimum wage for $15, and he was caught in his campaign not paying his own workers $15, $13 an hour, and he had to talk about it and apologize that even a guy that's a socialist wasn't paying a minimum wage. But if you raise it to $15, Amazon celebrates.
Okay.
Walmart celebrates. Do you know why? Because the employers from this supermarket that have been working for this family for the longest time, they can't afford to pay that. So they leave and go to Amazon and Walmart. What happens? The bigger companies keep getting bigger. The small businesses go out of business because of minimum wage.
Okay, so you mentioned
That is true. Yeah, minimum wage kills small businesses the higher and higher it gets, because most small businesses are trying to get to the point where they could actually afford to pay people, and only the bigger businesses are able to afford to pay the amount of people that amount of money. Like a large amount of people, that amount of money. So like small businesses have to limit themselves and their staff because they can't afford to pay a bunch of people minimum wage or whatever is considered a livable wage. Because that's the other thing about small businesses. A lot of small businesses actually care about paying their employees a livable wage, but that can also destroy the small business because they don't follow like minimum wage. Like their state minimum wage might be like $10 or something, but they still want to pay their employees like $15 or something. So they could end up going under, or because they want to pay them so much, only having like a couple employees, which depending on what kind of business you're running could just lower the quality of your business and make it harder to like, expand, because, you're going to need more employees if you ever really want to expand. But more employees are going to be expensive, especially high-level employees.
Mentioned Bernie Sanders. I didn't mention him. Cool for Bernie Sanders. Whatever. Do you pay a livable wage or a minimum wage for your employees?
There's not a single soul in our company that I pay $15 an hour or $20 an hour.
Okay, so are you paying them livable wage?
Yeah, I think he's saying he pays well above even like what most of you would consider a livable wage or even minimum wage in the most liberal states. I think, is 15 the highest? I think 15 is the highest. I think that's what he's saying. Like that's like the highest minimum wage in the country, and he pays above that. I think that's pretty sure that's what he's trying to say.
Wages though?
Absolutely.
Okay, based on your standards or based on like the stats?
Because of my choice.
So you're determining what people's livable.
I think he's quite literally saying just based on like reality. Like he's what he's saying is he's paying his employees more than most people are getting paid, which is probably by definition a livable wage. Because if most people aren't getting paid this and they're able to live off of it, then his people are probably living pretty well.
Well, no, I look at the marketplace and I see what's going on, and I get to pick and choose what percentile of people I want to hire. Do I want to hire bottom 10%, 25%, 50%? I'll pay a little bit more because I want to get somebody that's got a little bit more experience.
Okay. Okay.
Tanya?
Titania.
Thank you.
That was an interesting back and forth.
Hi, Ganga.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
She was kind of just asking more questions than anything, though.
Can you remind me again why you think this country is largely socialist?
Out of the $4.9 trillion of revenue.
Yeah, because he defines everything based on how much you're being taxed. I mean, it's It's a bit of a straw man, but I mean, that's basically what he said.
That we get in, 4.8, 4.9, 68% goes to entitlement programs. That's the reason why I say America's socialism.
Do you think that we...
So he's talking about the amount you're taxed and where that tax money goes. Like, and it, honestly, adding the where the tax money goes, it strengthens his argument a bit more.
It should have a say in where our taxpayer dollars go?
That's why we have elections.
Okay.
You vote for it. Yeah.
So you agree that we should have a say in where our taxpayer dollars go?
If you're asking me who should have a right to vote, I would change the system in a major way of who would have the right to vote.
I'm not asking you if people
You're asking me a question.
I'm not asking you who should have the right to vote.
Right.
I'm asking you, do you think that
the
our
current system
taxpayer dollars
allows,
should be dictated by us?
The
where
current
that goes?
election allows you to vote and decide who you want to be your candidate.
Absolutely. Okay. So I would argue that the biggest handouts go to billionaires.
Well, it allows you to vote for more than just that.
Because we give billions and billions of dollars in subsidies to billionaires every single year. Elon Musk just got a huge raise. Not sure why. He's worth over like the hundreds of billions of dollars.
Be specific. You're talking about SpaceX?
I'm talking about SpaceX, Tesla. I'm talking about the companies that we fund as tax.
Why does it sound like they're saying SpaceX every time they say SpaceX? Like, did he name it that on purpose? Did Elon Musk create SpaceX just so that he can one day have SpaceX?
Taxpayers. So why did we never vote for that?
Why did you never vote for the money going to some of these companies?
Do you see an issue with the fact that we as taxpayers didn't have a say in, first of all, electing this tech oligarch?
Once you elect somebody...
Tech oligarch.
Deciding where our taxpayer dollars go.
Once you elect who you elect, what they do next, you don't have a say during that time.
Until
the next election. No, I'm talking Congress, Senate. They make a decision on who they give the money to and they approve.
But he's been getting this amount of subsidies through every administration. I'm not just referring to the Trump administration.
Yeah, that's true. He has.
About how he's done. Okay, so the NASA was shut down many years ago. Okay, since then, how has NASA done? Trying to find a way to go to space. What has SpaceX done? SpaceX has been able to do.
What has NASA done? NASA gave us the satellite, which you use every time.
What has NASA done? That's a good question. Are you paying attention to what NASA is doing?
You use your phone?
If you let me finish, NASA versus SpaceX. Elon Musk, as much as you hate him, Elon Musk was able to go to space for 1/20th of the cost because government organizations.
Elon Musk has the ability to eradicate extreme poverty in this country, and he chooses to send rockets into space and make extremely ugly cars that we never actually funded. So I would argue.
Damn. What's she going into my man business like that? Chill.
Girls drive his car, so.
Well, I would say the Cybertrucks, it's a poor decision aesthetically.
The Cybertruck.
I'm not discussing the aesthetics of his products.
It's so funny because when you say what you say about
them, you were discussing the aesthetics of his products. Them trucks are ugly as fuck. I ain't gonna lie.
Say the Democratic side on the climate change side, the guy that's worked towards that the most, you guys loved him till he supported Trump. Elon was your favorite 8 years ago until he supported Trump. The moment he went into Trump, this guy's a horrible.
I mean, I wouldn't say that, but they did like him. Like, he wasn't like this evil guy. They thought he was like very, at least progressive as far as businesses go.
Horrible guy. This guy's a terrible guy.
To be fair, I've hated Elon Musk consistently throughout my adult life, and I also think that he is someone who has benefited immensely from the government. That's why I find hypocrisy in what you're saying.
I don't disagree on that side.
He's benefited immensely from the exploitation of labor overseas. He's benefited immensely from his extremely aggressive union tactics, union busting tactics. So I'm saying, like, why
is he a net positive to you for society?
Is he a net positive for me personally?
Is he a net positive for society, not for you?
I wouldn't say so.
You don't think he is?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Who to you is a net positive to society? Bernie Sanders?
I mean, Bernie Sanders is, I would say he's a compromise candidate, but I would say that...
He's a compromise candidate.
Yes, I would say he's
AOC a net positive to society?
Oh, she said Bernie is compromised. Oh, shit.
I would say net positive, yes.
More than Musk is.
Yes, absolutely.
Really? Tell me why.
Because AOC wants to introduce a Green New Deal, and I think that the New Deal is the closest
for $30
thing.
trillion?
Okay, Trump literally just added $3.4 trillion to our deficit.
Is she's advocating for AOC? Is that what she said? She like AOC better than Bernie?
So I really don't want to hear.
30 trillion
okay, so I'm saying that I think that, you know, when we look at the system that we currently have, I think that we need to redistribute the wealth in a significant way, and we need to reintroduce something like the New
Of course you do.
Deal. And I think AOC has been the closest to doing that. I'm not saying I'm a big.
Yeah. Also, so you think AOC is the closest?
Yes, but I'm saying.
Is AOC compromised? Because she said Bernie is compromised.
Okay, so I would argue that the biggest handouts go to billionaires because we give billions and billions of dollars.
Done. Okay, so the NASA was shut down many years ago. Okay, since SpaceX has been able to do
what has NASA done? NASA gave us the
NASA versus SpaceX. Elon Musk, as much as you hate him, questions.
Musk has the
Don't
ability
manage
to
finances
eradicate extreme
accordingly.
poverty in this country, and he chooses to send rockets into space and make extremely ugly cars that we never actually funded.
Believe it or
So I
not.
will throughout my adult life. And I also think that he is someone who has benefited immensely from the government. That's why I find hypocrisy in what you're saying.
I don't disagree
also
on
think
that
that
side.
he's benefited immensely from the exploitation of labor overseas. He's benefited immensely from his extremely aggressive union tactics, union busting tactics. So I'm saying, like, why
Is he a
are
net
we?
positive to you for society?
Is he a net positive for me personally?
Is he a net positive for society, not for you?
New Deal, and I think that the New Deal is the closest
$30
thing.
trillion?
Okay, Trump literally just added $3.4 trillion to our
a big
deficit, so
difference
I really don't want to
between
hear.
30 trillion and
Okay, so
3 trillion.
I'm saying that I think that
Yeah, I don't know why he's interrupting her on that.
when we look at the system that we currently have, I think that we need to redistribute the wealth in a significant way, and we need to reintroduce something like the New Deal.
Why
And I
don't
think
you-
AOC has been the closest to doing that. I'm not
why
saying I'm the
don't
biggest fan of
you-
her, but I'm saying that we need a marginal tax rate
Right.
that is
Oh,
something similar to the New Deal, 70 to 90%. Ideally, I would go for a wealth tax. Anyone
she says she's not the biggest fan of her, but she likes her Green New Deal.
over $999 million has to pay every year. But I'm saying that
Say that one more time. You would do what? Anybody that
I
makes
would
over...
introduce a wealth tax. So
Okay.
I'd say that anyone who makes over $999 million needs to pay. So I think that no one should be a billionaire. I think that we should put the cap.
No one should be a billionaire. Bold words.
One should be a billionaire.
Absolutely not. Do you think that people can survive on $999 million?
This isn't how life works.
Do you think someone could
This is
survive on
a-
$999 million? I'm asking you, do you
utopia.
think someone
You
would be
don't get to
okay?
dictate
Do you think
how
someone's
a
life would be
person
impaired if they
drives
had
and
only
do it.
$999
You
million
don't get
instead
to
of $1 billion?
dictate that.
You're not answering the question.
Fortunately,
What is the fuck? That's not even a good question. Like, I thought she would have something better to prepare than that, but like, I didn't even think like PBD's question was that good of a question, but like, her response is like, do you think somebody could live off 199 million? What is it, 999 million? Like, just short of $1 billion. So you don't think billionaires should exist, but you're fine with like, just barely not billionaires existing. Like, it's just come the fuck on, bro.
these
Answer my
companies
question.
that continue to grow
Why are you avoiding my
created
question?
jobs for others.
Do you think someone
And
could
you in
reasonably
America
survive on
don't get to
$999
dictate
million?
how big a person wants to build their business. That's not
Why do
true.
you-
By the way,
why
why
do you
don't
think
you
we-
elect someone that pursues those policies? Bernie was your hero for many years. He became compromised.
I never said he was my hero.
But how did Bernie become compromised?
I said that he
said
is.
She didn't say he was ever her hero. Though. She said that nigga's compromised. That's what she said. The first thing she said, this nigga compromised.
A
I said he's a compromised
Why is he a
candidate.
compromised
I
candidate?
mean, he was definitely compromised by the Democratic Party, who didn't want him elected.
What happened?
I'm saying he's a compromised candidate in that I would go further than him, but I also know that he's probably the best we have right now, and I would like to see him as president, ideally, or someone similar. I think Zohran Mamdani, who you mentioned earlier.
Wait, so he's compromised, but you would like to see... What? Bro, what? These people are walking contradictions, bro.
I think
I
he's an
can't
excellent
wait for him
candidate.
to win. You know why I
Why is
can't
that?
wait for him to win? Because I can't wait for the data that comes out after he wins.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to show you all the numbers that he show you after he
If rich
wins.
people have to
He said, "Oh, I can't wait for that nigga to become president. Just look at all the data that's gonna come out once this nigga comes out to prove that y'all niggas suck." That's what he's saying.
flee New York
They will.
because of his policies,
They
that means
will.
that they're too economically
They were like, "We're gonna finally have distinct proof that y'all niggas trash."
fragile
No,
to
because
handle
Even though they're gonna say the same thing they say now. They're like, "Well, he was compromised anyway." That's why they want him in there. They want the ability to be able to, like, once he get in there, like, well, we didn't really like him anyway. He's just, at least he's like, kind of socialist. Like,
You
those
don't appreciate
taxes.
people that
they
create
always want this like plausible deniability.
jobs. They will go
What
somewhere
kind
that
of
they
jobs are we
appreciate.
creating?
A high-paying
We have
job.
to look past job
They
creation.
pay high-paid jobs.
Many of the
if you
jobs-
bring value to the market.
The reality is
They don't ever want to commit. Just power games.
that Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg,
Yeah.
and Jeff Bezos,
Right.
they have huge monopolies over our market, and they're able to pay as little in
I think the
wages
only
as
company
they'd
that
like.
has a monopoly-
They,
I think the
they-
only company
they
that
quite
has a
literally
monopoly-
control the wages and the costs in our economy.
Right.
When Amazon has 60% control over e-commerce,
I am
they can quite
hoping-
literally decide what
What was he gonna say? I kind of want to hear. Did he ever finish? He said he thinks the only company that has a monopoly.
wages and what costs people can earn
I am
and pay.
your candidate AOC.
I never said she was
you
my
said she's a
candidate.
net
You're
positive
making
to
false
society.
endorsements on my
You said
behalf.
AOC is a net positive to society
I
more
said
than
she's-
Elon Musk.
absolutely, yes.
Perfect. When AOC was in New York, Amazon wanted to bring
Yeah, they just again. This is why these logical analysis always go off track. As I've been trying to keep it like on point, but they can't keep it on point. Like, we're not talking about the claim here, just so we're clear. This doesn't really have much to do with whether the U.S. is more socialist or capitalist. Like,
25,000 jobs to New York. These were jobs that were
What
paying
do those jobs look
$150 a
like?
year.
Because
Let
from
me-
what
let
I
me finish.
understand, that the
These
people
were
who work
jobs
for
that were
Amazon
paying
have to
$150 a
walk
year.
10 to 15 miles
These
per
were
shift.
jobs-
They have
these were
higher
jobs that
injury
were
rates
paying
than the
I mean, They're the ones making a
Industry
decision.
average?
It's like, are people really walking that far to go to work?
These were jobs that were paying $150 a year.
I think we can stop.
She went against it. They went to a different place. 25,000 jobs they lost in New York.
And what would those jobs look like?
$150K a year minimum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now he's gonna pick an anti-capitalist to go back and forth with. They're done with that claim. Nobody really refuted the claim. They tried to do it. They were like, oh, well, it's not socialist. In what sense? They never really even meant what they never even said what they meant by socialist either. They just kind of were like, well, it's not socialism because people don't own the means of production. So it's not socialist at all, which is just like, it's just a bad argument. I'm not gonna it's just socialism and socialist are technically two different things. And when people are talking about the two, like, the only way to really gauge the amount of one ideology influencing or having a place in your government is to assess the policy and the ideology behind why certain policies are prescribed. Like, you know, it's just, I just feel like either they're like not understanding what he's saying or they're just being woefully ignorant to try to act as if like what he's saying makes no sense at all. But we'll see. Yeah, they get to pick the claim. So like he's gonna get to pick somebody here, and then they'll pick a claim, and they're gonna debate that. So let's see what happens.
I'm gonna go with my friend here. So I chose Mason because he was the only one that came up to me and said, Pat, I'd like to have a reasonable conversation with you. You came up. There was 3 other people I was thinking about, and because you.
All right. So I picked Mason because he sucked my dick. That's what you're saying, basically, right? Pause. That's what he's saying, though.
We're fair and respectful. I chose you.
So my claim is America has never been America.
I don't even think. I can't remember. This guy was like the first guy that sat down, but he never really had like a. I don't think he had a really good point or anything either. I think he went off topic as well.
Meritocracy.
Okay. Tell me why.
So I think that when you see wealth disparity and the amount that it gives influences to certain individuals.
America has never been a meritocracy. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Personally, I think you could even make an argument that historically it's probably just factually true. There's definitely some meritocratic systems or meritocratic parts that exist in America, but I think overall there's definitely been a lot of nepotism. I mean, you know, racism literally propping up, you know, particular groups on purpose. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I obviously have to agree with them.
Rules specifically from a starting point. If we're looking at America,
I think this might just be factually true.
Like a race, and someone is starting 2 inches from the finish line and somebody starting a mile back, we would not say that this is a judgment of their merit. We'd say that this is a system that allows those with the most influence to continue to be successful.
So
I don't think logically that disputes anything to do with merit. So like, if you're talking about the whole like starting at the finish line and starting like further back, you would say like, okay, so some people have privilege, I guess is what you're saying. I just don't know if I like that analogy necessarily. Because at the end of the day, I don't think that means the system isn't based on merit, right? Like, so just because the system is like, just because the system has merit as one of the things that is considered, or even the primary thing that is considered, doesn't mean that other things aren't considered as well. So these other things might help put you ahead just naturally, right? Because that's why people aren't equal in general. Like some people have like 2 parents, some people don't. You can't really change that. That doesn't mean that like whatever system that they live in or system of employment or whatever isn't meritocratic, and that they could work and be more successful than somebody else there based on their merit alone. It's like, sure, people can try to do other things within that system, and there can be other motivations within that system, such as like, people wanting to promote people because they know them, people because they're family members, nepotism, yada, yada, blah, blah. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the system or the country itself isn't necessarily meritocratic in the way it's laid out. Like, you could probably argue that, like, it technically is meritocratic on paper, but it doesn't actually play out that way. And that might be what he's arguing, but, like, to say it's never been meritocratic, you would have to argue that it's never even met the standard.
Is it about some of the people that got generational wealth have an advantage over others that didn't get it?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying that that's a moral failure. I'm just saying when people claim that capitalism is a meritocracy, that's just factually inaccurate, and we shouldn't be allowed to.
Capitalism is more meritocratic than many other systems, probably most other systems. Because you'd have to list them off to actually look at it. Like, I wouldn't be able to say off the top of my head if there's not any other systems that are like meritocratic as well. But yeah, I think capitalism is the one that probably takes merit into account the most, or at least compared to like something like socialism, it takes merit into account more. I don't know, like, how many systems should be included in like merit. Like, how many people are really saying that capitalism is a meritocracy or that capitalism is meritocratic? Like, because meritocratic is like, it would be like degrees, but saying it's a meritocracy, it means that like it's damn near like the only thing that's important in capital, which I don't think most people would argue. And I don't think most people are saying that. I think if anything, they say capitalism is meritocratic. So it's like has a large amount of meritocracy within it. And that it's one of the primary things that people focus on when it comes to capitalism and it's in competition.
To lie here. Like, we should try to be coming to a common consensus.
So capitalism is not a meritocracy?
No.
So you mean to tell me nobody here can go out there and win if they wanted to at the highest level?
No, I think that there's a probability that people can't have
So he is going to argue it.
social mobility or increase our economic conditions. It does not mean that everybody is able to. So while some people could be a billionaire in the circle, not everybody could be.
Okay, but I don't think... All right, so when somebody says something is a meritocracy, I don't think that means that just because everybody is allowed the ability to do something and that the system is going to be based on merit means that everybody's going to have the merit. Like, I don't like this. Like, what?
Not everybody's able to. I fully agree. I can play baseball.
Like, not everybody's going to be able to because it's based on merit. Which is, if you don't have the merit, you're not going to be able to.
But I'm probably not going to play Major League Baseball.
I can spend money on a lottery ticket. Doesn't mean I'm guaranteed to win the lottery.
I agree. So what's your point? I agree with you then.
So my point is that America is not a meritocracy. You said that.
No, you said there's two things. Anybody at what levels, you can have success. To me in life, there's three different types of people. You got overachievers, you got achievers, you got underachievers. Let me unpack this for a second. We got 10 minutes.
You can.
Overachiever, achiever, underachiever. Okay? You can.
That's a good little way to look at it.
Find a guy in school.
I'm probably like, I'm achiever to overachiever. I'm usually like an overachiever, but sometimes I settle myself to be like an achiever. But I don't think I've ever been an underachiever. Maybe at things I don't care about. But even things I don't care about, I like kind of overachieve.
We all remember the kid in school that was we're like, that kid's going to win in life. And he didn't. He was supposed to be an overachiever. He ended up being an underachiever. And there were kids in school that we looked at and said,
yeah, that's true.
That guy's not going to do anything with life. Dude, stay away from that guy. He ends up winning. He's an overachiever. So it's not.
It's that's why I like the way he's describing this right now. This is actually a nice little way of describing it.
Not about what you're, end up doing in your life. It's how close you reach to your capacity.
The winning that you're talking about, quote unquote, is wealth accumulation.
Not necessarily.
Reaching your full potential, aiming for your full potential.
Wealth accumulation.
It is. That's exactly what you said.
If you end up, I have friends that make $120,000 a year. They have a good life. They're happily married. Got 2 kids, and they chose to go live in a place like Victorville. They chose to go live in a different place. But to me, that is winning. They're contributing to society.
I have a genuine question for you.
Yeah. Everybody also like kind of has the different standards of success as well. We don't all have the same standard of success.
Patrick,
Please.
do you think that a nurse or a hedge fund manager offers more social utility?
This is documented. 14 years ago, I made a video talking about the 10 most honorable professions, and a hedge fund manager wasn't on that list. But a nurse was.
Wow.
I believe what nurses do, when my father's at the hospital and I see how they attend to him, you have no idea how much respect I have for nurses.
Right.
It's a tough job.
Okay.
However,
but I would say the hierarchy of what our society looks like does not prioritize that in the same way that you're saying
But there's
it
a
does.
difference. So there's a difference.
No, it's just like it's kind of a difficult thing to do. I think they value it. They even like made it one of those, like, you know, even during COVID, I'm pretty sure that was one of those essential jobs.
Do I think a nurse is more important to the market than a basketball player? Yes. But the market wants to watch a basketball player play, so they pay Steph Curry
But
$60
we
million
both
a
agree
year.
that America's failing, right? Your last claim was about how America's socialist, and that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like, you know, like the market, like I don't think nurses are something that's on the front of anybody's mind unless we're just talking specifically about the medical industry. Like there are different industries. Like from the way he's talking about it though, like it's like no, like I mean, like nurses are like probably like the most important staff next to like a doctor in that industry. It's just that there's so many different types of doctors and medical professionals. Like, it's I guess arguably bottom tier, but it's not even. I don't even think nurses like bottom tier. It's probably kind of like middle tier in the medical industry. Nurses aren't at like the very bottom, and there are different types of nurses as well, right? Like, so it depends on what you're talking about.
I assume that you're saying because of government intervention.
Absolutely.
So you think capitalism can exist without government intervention?
I think you need law and order because there will be abuse if you don't have it. In our insurance company, when I
sure, I guess.
Was run the company, I had to make sure there was law and order in there. If you don't have certain compliance, abuse will come in. When abuse comes in, if it's a free for all.
Are part of those laws
Oh yeah, I mean,
like labor laws?
That can also be abused. No, it's a fair question you're asking, but a part of that can also be abused. A lot of those guys go in with the right intentions. Then they become dividers and they pin the employer against the employee. So then
yeah, because then you start creating like friction inside a business that probably didn't even have any.
the divide and conquer model is very effective.
I just want to break this down. Do you think that there are not mutually exclusive interests in owners and workers?
Do I think there's mutual interest with owners
Yeah.
and workers?
Do you think that they have a symbiotic relationship and when they're trying to achieve the same goal?
I like to give my employees equity because if you own equity in the company, you no longer are an employee. You treat it as if it's your own company. So I prefer to give my employees equity, but it's my choice. I don't want the government forcing me to give them equity. I'll give you a story. Do you remember that story of a guy who said, I pay every single one of my employees $70,000 a year? What was this guy's name? I don't know if you remember this guy. The story went
I don't remember this. I've never heard this before.
viral. Socialism, what a noble guy. Everybody retweeted it. The Bernies of the world. Phenomenal guy. I invited him on the podcast. He comes on the podcast. I said, so tell me about your noble cause that you pay everybody 70 grand a year. He says, well, I don't think anybody should make over 70 grand a year. You can live off of $70,000 a year. I said, perfect.
Right.
How many employees do you have? Let me make the point. I said,
He said he doesn't think anybody should make over that much. It's kind of fucked up.
how many
You're saying,
employees
but
do
I
you
don't think that
have?
this is
Wait a minute.
conducive to our
I
conversation.
said, how many employees do you have? He says 100. I said, how many of those 100 own a single share of your company? None of them do. Who does? I do. You're a socialist claiming everybody should make that much money, but you're not giving equity?
I'm not endorsing this particular person. I'd love to look
I mean, it's kind of anecdotal, but I see what he's trying to say here.
into this, and maybe I'll watch the interview later.
There's
what I'm trying to say,
when it comes down to action.
There are contradictions in the way that workers are trying to get as much
Yeah, I mean, they claim to believe in one thing and they seem to kind of do another.
wages as possible. That's just guaranteed. I want to get the maximum amount for the labor that I put into it. A owner wants to do the exact opposite. It's not that they want to pay people what they deserve. They want to pay people what they can get away with. That's just virtually true. Yes, because when you say
That's a very cynical way of looking at the world. Do people really believe that this is how most people work? I don't think most business owners are just trying to pay them what they can get away with. I think there are a lot of business owners that actually want to pay their employees a good wage. It's just that you have to be making enough to do that. Like you have to balance that, I think, also with your company making profits, because you also can't expand and your company can't really survive if you're not making a profit. Nobody wants to just be breaking even. That's not the point. The point is to make a profit at least, because as a business owner, you're not really taking anything home if your business isn't making a profit. Sure, your employees are getting paid and everything, whatever, but you're never going to really be able to pay them more or reinvest in the business if you're not making a profit.
Yes,
I
because
don't
you
think
say,
that's the case.
no, you already
I
agree that
don't think that's
coercion
the
exists
case.
in the system.
It
You're
does,
just
but
saying
I
that
don't think-
socialism. You're saying that socialism is the government mandating others to do it. But you're saying that markets do the exact same thing. You just said that the market price determines.
Don't put
what
words in my mouth. I like you. You're respectful. You're a nice guy. Don't put words in my mouth.
Did you not say that markets determine market rates?
I haven't. What I'm telling you is there will be abuse in business, and if there's a
Okay,
person
I'm
like
gonna ask
that,
you the same question as soon as you're done. But continue.
there is abuse in business. Some people will take advantage of that. But the benefit of a free market capitalism is if I don't treat you fairly, you go work for him. If he doesn't treat you fairly, you go work for him. Eventually, if you bring enough value, guess who
Yeah, because the employers are also competing for employees.
can't afford to lose you? I can't afford to lose you.
Do you
if I
think
can't
that
afford to lose
markets
you,
determine market
if
rates?
I can't afford to lose you, guess what I have to do to you?
Do you think that markets determine market rates?
You didn't answer my question. If I can't afford to lose you, guess what I do to you?
Do you know what a monopsony is?
Tell me about it.
So do you know the difference between a monopoly and a
I know
monopoly?
monopoly. Tell me about monopoly.
Okay, so a monopoly is a single seller who has rare competition within the selling of the distribution. That creates like inflated prices.
Okay, interesting. This is the first time I'm hearing this term.
That can hurt consumers. But a monopsony is one single buyer. So this is an employer. There are things called company towns. You brought up the example of Walmart outpricing small businesses.
Sure.
I think that's a fantastic
On
example.
the minimum wage side.
Right, of how there are large businesses that utilize their leverage and their influence and their capital in order to determine what those wages look like in a given particular place.
Okay.
Sure.
So what I want to argue is minimum wages seem to stifle monopolies because they allow people to start at the same floor rate. You're saying that big businesses have an advantage when there's a minimum wage because they can pay more?
They do.
We are also...
Big businesses. Did he say big businesses seem to stifle them?
advocating for higher taxation rates and capital gains taxes
Right.
on these businesses that are supposedly taking advantage of the system.
I think
okay.
You can invest this in tax breaks for small businesses, for people that have less employees. Maybe you say that less than 5 employees, they have certain tax incentives, so they're not taxed at the same rate as these large conglomerates. But that does not mean that a minimum wage is a bad idea, because like most people here said, you can't survive on less than $7 an hour in most places.
You know what's the great thing about business?
So I mean, is that the argument? He's like, so he's making that argument about minimum wage. Was he describing that to say that like minimum wage helps that? Helps against,
but monopoly is one single buyer.
Monopoly? Is that what he said?
So this is an employer. There are things called company towns. You brought up the example of Walmart outpricing small businesses.
Sure.
I think that's a fantastic example.
On the minimum wage side.
Right, of how there are large businesses that utilize their leverage and their influence and their capital in order to determine what those wages look like in a given particular place.
Sure.
So what I want to argue is minimum wages seem to stifle monopolies because they allow people to start at the
monopolies. Is that what he said? Monopolies?
same floor rate. You're saying that big businesses have an advantage when there's a minimum wage because they can pay more.
They do.
We are also
They do.
advocating for higher taxation rates and capital gains taxes
Right.
on these businesses that are supposedly taking advantage of the system.
I think
wait. You can invest this in tax breaks for small businesses, for people that have less employees. Maybe you say that less than 5 employees, they have certain tax incentives, so they're not taxed at the same rate as these large conglomerates. But that does not mean that a minimum wage is a bad idea, because like most people here said, you can't survive on less than $7 an hour in most places.
You know what's the great thing about business and numbers? And
I mean, let me hear that one more time.
People to start at the same floor rate. You're saying that big businesses have an advantage when there's a minimum wage because they can pay more.
They do.
We are also
They do.
advocating for higher taxation rates and capital gains taxes on these businesses that are supposedly taking advantage of the system.
I think
wait.
Yeah, but would that make his claim untrue, or are you just saying that you have ways to address it?
You can invest this in tax breaks for small businesses, for people that have less employees. Maybe you say that less than 5 employees, they have certain tax incentives, so they're not taxed at the same rate as these large conglomerates. But that does not mean that a minimum wage is a bad idea, because like most people here.
So he's saying, so it has negative effects. We can kind of address them with some of these other things. We can help the effects with some of these other things. So it doesn't mean that it's inherently a bad idea. I think that's what he's trying to say.
Said you can't survive on less than $7 an hour in most places.
You know what's the great thing about business and numbers and data is every idea is getting exposed.
I was just trying to figure out why he brought up monopolies or whatever the fuck, like single buyer or whatever, like the opposite of a monopoly.
COVID, all the policies that came out from the leftist side, they're all getting exposed today. Within time, everybody realizes what works and what doesn't work.
Can you name those policies?
When
just saying
states
that
who chose kids to stay home instead of going to school,
when is that a socialist policy?
That is a control, because when a government is ran in a way that they're controlling.
That's not socialism.
Socialism is a form of control.
Socialism is a workers' control of their own.
Ultimate control.
No, socialism is workers' control of their own workplace.
Socialism is a form of control. Communism is the ultimate control.
You're using this rhetorical.
How do workers get control of their own workplace? Like, this is the thing about socialism that kind of confuses me. It's just like, so you would have to like to do this without taking like a business from somebody or something would basically be impossible. So you would have to like reset the world, and everybody would just have to all of a sudden just decide to like collectively own all of these businesses and work together with them and completely change all the rules. The only other way to achieve this is to quite literally get the government to like take these things from people and then kind of distribute it to everybody, take everybody that's working there, change the rules, and make them owners, and then anybody who gets employed and on it. Like it's just a very like how does one actually achieve such a system? This is why I think some of these ideologies are just stupid, because it's just unrealistic. Like how would you even achieve this without using a government? Because then they say they want it to be like stateless and classless or whatever, and it's just like that's basically impossible to achieve. Like it's just like the more they stack on all the things that they say the world should be and the things that they say we should do, the less and less sense it makes.
Device as saying that capitalism equals freedom, socialism equals control.
I
hear that.
I mean, capitalism, like maybe not politically, but like market-wise, like technically, yeah, it does mean like freedom on the market or whatever. Just like the market, like operating without restrictions to a certain degree. That is what a lot of people see it as. Yeah.
Giving you a couple questions that you haven't answered yet.
I'll answer any question.
I want to go back to the question.
The rhetorical strategy that you're using might be beneficial for a large media platform. It's not based in reality.
If you bring value to me and you're so effective to my company.
And that's the thing, like, yeah, when you're advocating for something like socialism, like public ownership and things like what that actually means, like legally or whatever, is like if you don't have a state, then it's like everybody shares everything, which means that you're always gonna be like reliant on what someone else is doing. Like you're always gonna have to be worried about what someone else is doing in relation to you. What someone else is doing might restrict you from doing something. Like it's gonna be a lot less free, because a lot of things of what you're able to do is gonna have to be dictated. Whereas in these, capitalists, or whatever, a free system, right? Any system that you would consider to be free or more free, where you have like choice, you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want. You don't have to worry about what other people are doing. That's not an issue. It's like if everybody has to get their fair share, that kind of necessarily means that you're going to be limited in what you can get, because it has to be fair. That means if you want to get more than somebody else, like, well, aren't people going to be upset with you? Isn't there going to be a problem with that? Isn't that what you guys have a problem with, like, now? Or I guess, or you guys want to put a limit on what more is, which again, like, obviously that's going to be less free. Like, how would it not, if you are kind of comparing like more freedom to less freedom, that is kind of ultimately what it comes down to, economically speaking, I guess. And even like politically speaking, because like the only way to implement some of these things is with like force.
If you get to a point that I don't give you a good salary and I don't give you equity, what's going to happen to you most likely?
I'm going to try to start a union with my workplace, so that way we can collectively bargain on how to raise the floor
That's
for all
one
of
of the
us.
options, but guess typically what ends up happening.
What happens? They're
you
busted?
leave and you go to a different company and they
Are
give
you saying the
equity.
owners bust the union? Is that what you're saying?
No,
it's
that's not
not
what I'm
successful.
saying. I'm not talking union. You're talking about a different
What do you
candidate,
think
different
about
person. I think in some places they work. I told you earlier, in many cases they're divisive.
We agree. You also mentioned Wealth of Nations.
Yeah,
you like
they
Adam
are.
Smith?
I think a lot of his ideas, yes.
Do you disagree, or do you also agree that landlords are parasites?
I don't agree landlords are parasites.
Adam Smith,
No,
even Wealth of
I
Nations
don't-
author,
I
said
don't-
that.
I don't. I
He
know
said that rent
you're
is
cherry picking. I don't think landlords are parasites. I think
Okay, just because he recommended a book and he enjoys a book does not mean he agrees with the author's opinions.
in many cases, when you think about what's happening with New York right now, this is why I'm telling you guys, I hope all of us reunite in 4 years and we have a conversation, and I hope Mamdani wins. I am hoping Mamdani wins because that case study is going to get opened up and all of you guys are going to see it.
Can we both agree that corporate Democrats are a stain on this country?
Corporate Democrats
Democrats that utilize their leverage and utilize their influence to maximize their own private wealth is a bad thing that we should discourage?
I think if it's their choice. I don't think.
Is that the Mamdani dude he said he hoped wins? I thought he was talking about Bernie earlier. So he hopes that, he's just saying in general, like he hopes that they get their candidates so that we can have like the record of how bad they do.
You and I get to tell them what to do and what not to do.
So you think that like insider trading should be allowed?
I'm not for insider trading
But
whatsoever.
you just said it's their
No.
choice.
No, if you're being
can use your
specific-
influence.
If you're specific with insider trading, that's a different conversation.
I just think that all of these are examples of why capitalism is not a meritocracy, especially when you're saying that politicians who utilize their influence to maximize their own
you
wealth.
could be right.
I mean, he might have something with the insider trading thing about the meritocracy part. I don't even know how he I don't even know how he roped this back in. I actually don't think he. I don't think he proved his point at all.
You're talking about landlords who are profiting off of necessity for people, or you're talking about business owners who stifle unions for people that just want to collectively
You
organize.
could be right if the data was shown. I'll shake your hand, absolutely. I'm not trying to disrespect you. No,
Thank you.
You've been very
Appreciate
respectful. No. But for me to tell you this, everything here can be proven based on data.
Correct.
If your policies are so
Yeah, for the most part, if you have data, like that would put a lot of this back and forth to bed.
attractive, I'm going to come to you.
Empirical
If your
data shows that
policies
worker
are not
cooperatives
attractive,
are
they
not
will
only
leave
more
you.
sustainable to market collapses, but they also provide more of an actual attachment to the work that those workers have.
But that's also technically true about any claim. It's like, well, these claims here are like most like things that have to do with like facts and at least the physical world, like can be proven with data.
Alienation of labor is absolutely making people hate their jobs. Why do you think most people watching probably don't like the workplace that they're in, but still agree that there's some problem in America, whether they're saying it's immigrants or whether they're saying it's billionaires? What the problem is in America is people don't feel an actual attachment to what they're
What do
producing
you
in the
think
world.
about Social Security? What do you think about what FDR
I actually agree with that claim he just made, but I don't think that has anything to do with meritocracy at all.
did?
Wait, do you have nothing to say about those
No,
worker
because your
cooperatives?
point's been made. Go back to Social Security. This has been done with, right? If we have a couple minutes. What do you think about Social Security and how FDR came up with it?
Yeah, I think FDR from most
This is funny. They literally not even talking about it anymore. They're just chatting.
historians are placed in the top 3 of all presidents, and that's from conservatives and Democrats. I think that FDR got a lot of things great. I really like his second bill of economic rights. I think it's very vital that we provide people with housing, we decommodify things that are necessities. Do you know the difference between elastic and inelastic
Economic rights.
goods?
Stay on Social Security.
Oh, so you don't know the difference?
What do you think about Social Security? Stay on that.
Okay, well, Social Security, I think, was initially had as a social safety net to add a supplemental income to people's pensions. So most people going into like the 1950s all the way up to the 1980s were given pensions by corporations as a promise that if you work for my firm, I'll make sure that I supplement the exact same salary that you're getting throughout the rest of your life. Now, what Ronald Reagan did was he changed the pensions to contribution-based retirement, which means I have to put this in the 401k, I have to put it in the stock market, and
Yes. Which I'm not really against.
the stock market collapses.
Do you think Social Security ended up being a
I don't have
system that
anything.
worked?
I think that Social Security is
proven?
definitely needed as a supplemental income. And right now, since we have contribution-based retirements, it's absolutely needed. Because if you don't want old people eating cat food, we probably need some sort of sustainable
So
income.
when he came up with Social Security, do you think his intention was to have 74 million people use it today? Do you think that's what he thought was going to happen?
Yeah, and I think it's because you're not gutting the program in its entirety.
So
you can say
when
that
he came
Social
up-
Security is a failure if you take the wheels off of the car.
So
The car's
when-
not going to run.
when
But if you
Social
continue to buff
Security-
it up and you make sure that you have good
Sure,
guardrails,
but
it can be a
the
successful program.
challenge is a lot of times
Eh.
when you come up with a noble idea to try to fix something today, ends up getting bigger and you never expected it. When Social Security first came out in 1935, the first benefits were paid in 37, and it was paid in a lump sum. At that time, we had 128 million people living in America. Do you know how many people got Social Security?
Oh, it was paid in a lump sum? Really? Interesting.
Tell me.
54,000. Do you know when benefits started?
Tell me.
65 years old. So let me say this again to you. Life expectancy was 61. Social Security benefits started at 65.
Right, so you're saying because we've increased life, people need to work longer, right?
0.04%.
So grandma should be working at the-
Let me make
the
my
mill
point,
right
and then
now.
you can say anything you want to say.
Well, I'm just saying, you said as life
let me tell
expectancy
you where we are
increases, people
today.
should be working
Let
longer.
me tell you
You
today.
want to extend the
I hate when they do this, like start like talking over each other shit. It's like, bro, do you forget people are trying to like listen or watch this? Like,
No, if you bring that to today and you bring the exact same formula as the great FDR came up
See,
with.
Patrick, here's the difference between our worldviews. You're saying that because Social
today, there's
Security
340
right
million
now,
people. Let me say the point,
Go ahead.
and then I'll let you speak
Okay.
as long as you want to speak.
Great.
So that went from, math again for you, 54,000 out of 128 million people,
just the funny thing is they already over time anyway, so it's like, might as well let them finish.
0.04%. Life expectancy 61, benefits start 65. Today, it's 74 million out of 340 million. That's 21%. When life expectancy is 78, benefits start at 65. Do you know who's going to pay the price on Social Security? Not my
Yeah,
generation.
if we
yours
keep
is.
doing cuts, correct. If we keep doing cuts
No, because
and
you're gonna
Social
run out of
Security tax
money. You're
payments,
gonna run out of
no,
money.
that's not how it works. So the difference between our worldview, Patrick, is you're saying not only should people work longer into life because life
Yeah, I don't get the you're gonna run out of money part.
expectancy has increased, but they should work longer into life without guarantees for healthcare, without preventative care, and that's not only going to increase the deterioration of people's living conditions.
But yeah, I mean he's right. It's definitely gonna be like later and later that you're to expect your benefits.
It's also going to lead to a worse economy. Because let me tell you, 70-year-olds not going to be the most productive members of our economy. They should be spending time with their families. They should be easing into their passing away. We shouldn't be forcing grandma to go to the mill.
It's going to be on your back. You'll be paying for this in 30 years.
Appreciate you.
I just like I don't like the way that back and forth ended. Like the Social Security, like I mean, yeah, I'm not very interested in that argument, but I also don't think I don't think the argument Patrick Bet David made like really says much about it. Like, he's okay with that. Like, he's okay with like paying for Social Security. So, like what he just said, I don't think that was like, it wasn't really like a good point to make or anything. It's like,
yeah, I think that Patrick is a really great salesman. I think that he came in and confidently sold what capitalism
yeah, I mean, yeah, like he definitely had some good rhetoric.
is. But I think that the main point of today really showed that capitalism's best product is giving excuses for its own failures.
I don't think that.
Wait, hold the fuck up. I feel like the socialists make more excuses for their failures. I swear to God. How did he flip that? Because the one girl was literally saying we haven't been allowed to implement socialism, and the other girl was saying people can't get out of these situations. It's all these other people. So I was like, it seemed like all of them were making excuses. Even when he low-key was like offering them jobs and ways to make money and shit.
That we should be giving these people a large platform to amass a larger following, but I do think that we should expose these people to the light. And I think that even if people have horrendous and repulsive views like he did, I want to hear them because I want to know who those people are.
I also don't think
Horrendous and repulsive views. Like, why did she say it like that? He didn't even like, bro. He was arguing for capitalism the entire time. Those are horrendous and repulsive views. What? I'm so confused, bro.
think that he really listened to a lot of the claims. I also don't think everyone listened to his claims either. So I don't.
Oh, okay. Wow. This guy is the first person. Hold up. Hold up. I went to the end of the video by accident. I need to hear what this guy said one more time.
We should expose these people to the light. And I think that even if people have horrendous and repulsive views
Horrendous and repulsive views.
like he did, I want to hear them because I want to know who
Just
those
being a
people are.
capitalist.
I also don't think that he really listened to a lot of the claims. I also don't think
I don't think he listened to a lot of the claims.
everyone listened to his claims either. So I don't know.
I don't think everyone listened to this guy. No, y'all didn't. It was like maybe 2 of y'all niggas, maybe 2, that tried to actually stay on topic and talk about the claims that he said. Like, but no, like none of y'all niggas listened to it. This is a common running theme in Jubilee shit. He's the first nigga to say it though. Like, he's like, oh. So I don't think he really listened to their claims, which I actually think is true with Patrick Bet-David. He was just like kind of ignoring what they were saying a lot and just going into his like, you know, his diatribe. But like, they were certainly do not be paying attention to his claim, or they just realized they can't argue it and they just started to argue about something else. But yeah, no, they show as hell don't be arguing about the fucking actual claim.
I don't know how productive of a dialogue it was, but maybe we convinced some people at home one way or the other, and maybe there's some value to that, maybe not.
My vision for America is if there's anything that's happened after COVID, we used to be here. We disagreed on issues here. This is center, this is libertarian, this is conservative. And then during COVID, we went here, where we are in a very interesting place that some people don't even want to talk to somebody else that they don't agree with. It's gotten to the point that we are a little bit too divided right now, and I'd like to see America be more united than as divided as it is.
Hey man, you know, that was funny. He wants to see America more united. You know, PBD, I guess I'd have to agree. Good point, man. We do need to be more united. The funny thing is, I was gonna watch this one like last week. Like, this is like an old video. 20 people confront a billionaire. And
today, I think we've all sat here and we've heard you talk about.
Then they came out with the Patrick Bet-David one, and I was like, "Wow, it's funny," because I was just about to watch this one, and they basically did the same thing with the Patrick Bet-David one. I still kind of want to watch this one. I may or may not. I definitely don't feel like it now. Because the Patrick Bet-David one was like both boring and hilarious. Because it was like economic shit and business shit, like there were a lot of complex things being thrown around, but also a lot of stupid points being made that were kind of funny. But too much thinking. Tired. Start doing this shit right after work. So yeah, you know, there we have it. Our logical analysis. So, you know, I mean, like I said, that guy pretty much said it at the beginning, you know, or said it at the end there. There wasn't a lot of actually listening to each other's points in that one on both sides. But I think it was more on the people arguing against his claims to actually prove him wrong. PBD did a fairly good job of supporting at least the claims he was making, and whatever definitions he was operating by, he was pretty honest with, like even as far as like what he considers to be socialism, when he said like America is more socialist than capitalist. And there were definitely some flaws in his arguments, but I don't think anybody was actually sharp enough to really point it out or get anywhere with it. So ultimately, I was more disappointed in the people arguing against him than I was in him. And I actually thought I thought I was going to be more disappointed in Patrick Bet-David. I thought he'd have a less spectacular appearance, but he actually did a pretty good job. And he definitely has some good rhetoric, though I expected him to have some good rhetoric. I'm like, I know he has a podcast, I know he's a business owner, salesman, whatever. So I knew he'd probably have some good rhetoric. Was his rhetoric as good as Chank's? It's debatable. I think Chank might be beating him in the rhetoric area. Like Chank is pretty good with his fucking rhetoric. We might have to start calling these a rhetoric analysis. Because a lot of this shit is just rhetoric. But we're going to try and get to an actual debate before the next Jubilee video comes out. Because, if it's a good one, we're going to cover that one. But we like to do logical analysis here. But we also, when we do logical analysis, because we're analyzing the arguments rather than the conclusions, we kind of need good arguments. And we haven't been getting a lot of good arguments. Like, even when I'm setting up like my soundboard here, which one is it? No. So like we have a little soundboard clip for when we catch them in the fallacies and even spamming fallacies. But we can't do it for like every non sequitur, red herring. I mean, we'd be here all day, right? So we're gonna need people to really make like arguments that are on topic, that are on point. We're gonna probably have to find some better content to get some logical analysis out of. Why did I say analyst? I'm tired. I said I was tired. So there you go. Just more proof that I'm fucking exhausted. All right. But we're done with this one. So next one, I'll let you know what it is. In fact, I was looking through my subscriptions. I happened to see a little debate that happened on the Raging Tomato. Maybe we'll cover one of those debates they had on the Raging Tomato channel. Maybe an Andrew Wilson debate. Maybe somebody else. Because I did say I wanted to do that David Wood debate, didn't I? The Islam versus Christianity debate. That was a pretty fun one to watch. I'd like to watch that one again and do an analysis. So maybe we will. But until then, I want to kick my feet back, crack open a can of Coke. I should have got me a glass. Fuck. We'll do it next time. Well, yeah, I'm going to kick back, crack open a can of Coke, and fucking chill. And might be doing an Nimbo show today. So stay tuned for that. We'll be updating y'all on Twitter and all the other social medias. But until then, I'll bid you beautiful people. Al dua. Thank you for joining me.